Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. Some better news in the fight against wildfires in British Columbia. Crews say cooler, wetter weather is helping, though the fight is slow and some evacuation orders are being downgraded to alerts. But many people are still out of their homes, and some are very frustrated. We're going to check in with some of our reporters across the province, and we want to hear from you. I'm Dan Burritt with Belle, Puri. Welcome to an extended version of BC Today. We're going to get the latest on wildfires in a little while, but we start today with a frightening scene in Prince George. Police say an explosion ripped through an abandoned building in the downtown core. It has sent at least 3 people to hospital and closed several other businesses. The CBC's Andrew Kuryate is live in Prince George with us. Andrew has been covering this story for most of the day. Andrew, scary morning for many people in that city. What can you tell us?
Yeah, well, what I can tell you is actually the way I first found out about this was it was just around 7 o'clock and I felt my house shake. And my first thought was that it might be one of those bears that we've had in the city, just kind of coming up against the side of my house. But then I was listening to our local morning radio show here, and people were calling in saying that they had felt something in different areas. Sure enough, I go on and there is footage and videos being shared of a large fire, flames shooting up behind me here from what's the former Achillean Greek restaurant. That has been an abandoned building for a while now, but speaking to eyewitnesses on the ground, it's believed that there were unhoused people sleeping in or around the area. There is video footage that I've seen that CBC News has reviewed showing people walking out of around that building. It's not clear if they were in it or near it, but they're walking out while there's still flames. They're calling for help. We do know that at least 3 people were taken to hospital, at least 1 with serious injuries. Police said that they didn't have a full handle on just how many people might have been injured because several people were transported away by bystanders as well. So it's still a little bit unclear, but we do have confirmation that 3 people in hospital, including 1 with serious injuries. We don't yet know the cause of the explosion. Fortis has been here cutting off gas. Power was cut off by BC Hydro just to make sure it didn't spread. We are expecting an update from fire officials at around 2:30 this afternoon. For now, though, we just have the entire area here, just a full block on all sides, is blocked off by police. Some business owners are being allowed to go in to check the extent of their damage. We can see that there's glass on sidewalks. Even several blocks outside of this area that's cut off, there are buildings with the glass on the ground. But others seem fine. One woman just came out. She was checking her business. She said, even though it's full of breakables and delicates, everything's okay. So it's kind of a mixed bag, although we can still smell the aftermath of the smoke. And I'm sure there's going to be smoke damage and lots of assessment to be made in the days ahead.
And a scary scene, as we saw with the video that was shot and that you shot, Andrew. We also, as you mentioned, you spoke with RCMP shortly after the explosion. Here's what they told you.
I was just heading towards my office this morning at 7 o'clock, first thing in the morning, and the whole police detachment shook so violently that we thought our building or maybe one next door had been hit by a vehicle. The whole building was shaking for a moment there. When we rushed outside, we saw the big clouds of black smoke coming up from the area of 4th and Dominion. So our members quickly rushed out of the building to see what aid they could render. We do know now that it was an explosion that happened in one of the buildings down there.
Andrew, you'd mentioned we're expecting some sort of update. When is that happening, and who is speaking?
We are getting its immediate availability with the city fire officials, and that is happening at 2:30. It's in this downtown area. That is just being set up because obviously they are being inundated with requests for updates from media, from people who work around here, who own businesses around here. So they're going to provide an update with what they know and what they don't, and that's going to be happening at 2:30 this afternoon.
All right, and we'll watch for any updates on that. Andrew Kuryate live in Prince George. Andrew, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Now to the wildfire situation in BC. There is optimism in some areas. Premier David Eby and Ministers Bowen Ma and Bruce Ralston are on the ground today, visiting fire-ravaged areas. This morning, they were in Kamloops. Right about now, they should be arriving in Salmon Arm. And later today, they will travel to Kelowna, West Kelowna, and Penticton. Federal Emergency Management Minister Harjit Sajjan is also touring the regions. The leaders are scheduled to meet with evacuees, volunteers, and fire crews.
The challenges continue, but there is a bit of encouraging news today. For the third consecutive day, officials say crews have made progress in fighting fires. The Emergency Operations Center has issued no new evacuation orders, and it's downgraded several existing orders to alerts. As for next steps, those forced from their homes are clearly eager to return. There are, of course, many hazards that have to be addressed before that can happen. Work to make for a safe return is underway, though it will take some time. Some people will go home sooner than others, unless advised otherwise. They have to stay out of evacuated areas. And poor air quality is a concern due to wildfire smoke. People across the province, not just in fire zones, being asked to reduce their exposure to bad air.
Jason Brolin is West Vancouver's fire chief, and he says he feels like they are starting to turn the corner on the blaze in his community, thanks to better weather. And with better weather, as clouds lift, he warns people may be startled by the destruction on the mountains and hills. He also gave an update on the number of structures destroyed and those saved.
On behalf of the City of West Kelowna and WFN, that I expect the number of partial and full losses to be less than 90, less than 70 in the City of West Kelowna, and less than 20 on WFN territory. But the number in the second column on my page here is the number that was saved. And that's over 3,000 that weren't affected in our area of operations. And to the best of our knowledge at this time, there has been no loss of life, and there are no missing persons outstanding from the fire.
We would like very much to hear from you. How are you coping amid BC's wildfires and air quality challenges? What information is most important to you? You can call us at 1-800-825-5950 or 604-669-3733. It's pound 690 on your cell phone, and you can always email us, bctoday@cbc.ca.
This year's fire season is officially BC's most destructive on record. The province has declared a state of emergency, and many thousands across our big province are on evacuation order, though that number is coming down. We've heard over and over that climate change is contributing to the extreme weather conditions. Joining us now to tell us more is Kira Hoffman, a fire ecologist at UBC. Kira, thanks very much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So as we mentioned, one of the, if not the worst wildfire seasons we've had in recent memory, in recorded memory, we should say. Thousands of people evacuated. We've seen so many images of these massive blazes across the province. As a fire ecologist, what is going through your mind right now?
Oh, it's a very difficult scene to watch unfold, and it's been quite the marathon. The wildfire season started early, and it's just kept going. Many parts of Canada have been impacted directly by wildfire, and as well as many parts impacted indirectly by wildfire smoke. So no person has been unaffected this year by wildfire across Canada.
Now, we've all heard that climate change is a big factor. Just how big of a factor do you think it is in this year's season?
I think there's a lot of contributing factors, but climate change is definitely underlying a lot of the problems we're seeing right now. We've had, a very long fire season with significant drought conditions, high temperatures, low humidities, and all of this has come together to really change the fuel dynamics in our forests. And so we have really dry, really dense fuels, and those are really prone to igniting when we do have more convection through lightning. I'm not exactly certain on the numbers, but we've had a lot of lightning activity that is linked to a warmer and drier climate. And we can expect that, these drought conditions are probably going to persist in through the fall.
Kira, yesterday we spoke with Forrest Tower, a fire information officer with the BC Wildfire Service. He told us that this year's wildfire season, as we remember, began in May, where normally it would be in July and August. How does that speak to in terms of the increase or of the season?
Well, we're definitely going to see more fireline days in our future. So again, starting early, ending late. If we don't get significant snowfall in the winter as well, then we are going to have lagged drought conditions, and that plays into the next fire season. So for example, last winter across much of the province, we didn't get a lot of snow. And so we had drought conditions that persisted. So when we started our fire season in May a little bit earlier than normal, we were already really dried out from the year prior. And we are going to see these lag droughts continue to shape the fire behavior we see in the coming seasons.
Obviously, this is not the first time we've experienced something like this. We've had record-breaking wildfire seasons in BC in 2017, in 2018 as well. It does seem like it's getting worse every year. Is there any progress being made by the province's efforts?
Well, this was a very dynamic wildfire season in that we had most parts of the province burning at the same time. So in 2017, 2018, and 2021, we had different regions of the province that were impacted at different times. What we faced was a lot of intense fire activity across the province, which really stretched resources thin at the same time. And we've been fortunate in that things have quieted down in some areas that were very fire prone, but it makes it very challenging to assign resources, to make decisions on what fires to fight, what fires to let go or let burn under watching them and monitoring them. But it's very difficult when you have many interface fires, so fires that are directly impacting our communities happening at the same time.
We have a call now we want to get on the line. I hope I'm pronouncing this right. Is it Hugh in North Shuswap Lake?
That's correct.
Hello, Hugh. Thanks very much for calling us. We appreciate it. What's your experience been?
Well, there's 100 people here guarding homes with pumps and stuff. But the RCMP have the Army with them, and anybody on the road, they're going to stop. And so you can't go anywhere. But what happens when you run out of gas or you break down? Now, Brian from Rona went to the command center, and he said, "Who's in charge? I need permission." He has a huge water truck and pumps and hoses, and they won't let him in. And he wants to know who's in charge, and everybody just turns their back on him. But we've had, quite a few houses and places burned down. My neighbor has a D8 cat. He's putting guards all over the place. He's going to get a holiday when he's done. The people are going to buy it for him. But there's lots of people fighting the fires with pumps and hoses and stuff, and good luck.
Hugh, I have to ask you, are you in an area that was ordered evacuated?
Yes, we are.
And just to clarify, did you leave?
Well, I left twice, but I came back.
Why did you come back?
Why? Because I'm fighting the fire at my house.
Even though you've been ordered to leave?
That's right.
Yeah.
There's 100 of us, and everybody has a pump and a sprinkler. The guys are out on their cats and their backhoes. The fire department's working. First aid guys. Nobody's been burnt or hurt yet, but there's fire houses. We've lost a lot of them.
Hugh, I'm just wondering, then you say you go back and you're fighting the fire. So what are you telling us, that the crews are not there, or there are not enough crews?
There's no provincial help. They won't tell us. They went down to Kelowna. A fire went through where they were camped out, and they packed up 100 of them. They went down to Kelowna.
And yet fires are burning in your area.
Oh, yeah. We had one guy lit his house on fire because he wanted insurance, and that burnt half of the street till the fire department got there and put it out.
Yeah. Hugh, Hugh, if we can just, what would you say to perhaps people who are wondering why you decided to stay and defy an evacuation order? Because we did hear from fire officials telling people and police, please, you need to leave. And they understand the frustration of people who feel as if not enough is being done to protect their property, though.
One of the fire halls burnt down, but the fire department is working with us. They're not telling people to leave. It's the police that are telling people to leave.
Right. Okay. Hugh, we really appreciate the call. It's I think for people who are not in those situations, it is perhaps unimaginable what people are going through. Kira, if I can ask you, if memory serves, you were a wildfire fighter. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So based on Hugh's call and your experience being out in the field and having to fight these wildfires, what do you think of what he's saying in terms of people staying behind and defying orders?
I think this is a really complex situation, and it's also played out in 2017 and 2018 and 2021, where we have people deciding to stay and defend their properties. It's a very difficult one. It's almost the elephant in the room. In some jurisdictions outside of Canada, we have clear rules on if you decide to stay and defend your property, then you're taking that risk. In British Columbia, it's a little less clear, the ethics and laws surrounding that. There is people who have the expertise, they have the equipment, and they have the emotional and physical stamina to be able to stay and defend. And it's very difficult when people are not prepared and they're staying behind to fight a fire, because this is extremely volatile fire behavior. We're seeing very extreme fire weather and very unpredictable. And if people aren't prepared, then that puts first responders at risk. It's, again, a very difficult situation, and it's really hard to say what the right thing or the best thing is for people. There is people who don't have fire insurance, or they're trying to protect livestock, or, they're very experienced firefighters themselves. The problem is when, they decide to stay and then they change their mind, and then they put first responders at risk who are trying to come in and save them. Again, it's a very big gray area in our province, and it's a very difficult conversation to have, and one that, I've suffered my own home loss in a wildfire, and, had to make a very difficult decision about whether to stay or go. And my heart goes out to people who are trying to, grapple with that. And I also understand that, everyone has jobs to do in BC Wildfire. They don't take those decisions to make evacuation orders lightly. Those are very difficult decisions, and they try and protect as many people as they can, given very uncertain conditions.
Can you talk a little bit more about your own situation?
Yeah, so, as a fire ecologist, I've been quite surprised actually by some of the fire behavior I've experienced personally. We were impacted by the 2017 Thomas Fire in Ventura, California. That fire was moving at an acre per second, and we had to make the decision to leave with 5 minutes notice, and no one came to tell us it was time to evacuate. There was no one standing there with a fire hose, no fire department there. It was a very frightening experience evacuating with a 6-month-old baby down a California freeway. And what we often don't talk about is the fact that sometimes your house isn't completely gone. Sometimes it's just your doors, your windows, and all of your stuff is ruined by smoke damage. But, the life you live is gone. All the places that you used to share with friends or family, the forest around it, what makes a community is really suffered from the direct impacts of wildfire. And it takes a long time to, grapple with that experience and to feel that trauma over years and years and years, and it's very triggering. Even today, experiencing wildfires in British Columbia, I have it's a really difficult time for a lot of people. And when you directly experienced it yourself, or you've housed family members who have, it can be very difficult to go through it again.
Well, we appreciate you sharing your experience with us, because absolutely that part we can understand, that the trauma doesn't end just once the fire has been put out. Clearly, it lasts for years and years. I just want to switch a little bit here and ask you about, it's our understanding a huge amount of BC's forest is sprayed with a herbicide called glyphosate. The CBC has reported on how this spraying may be having an impact on the spread of wildfires. What can you tell us about that situation?
So many of our forests are treated with the herbicide to enhance the growth of conifers, which are our nurse seedlings that are planted. So these are often in clear cuts where they go out and they spray herbicides to again enhance the stock of a tree farm. And those are conifers that they're trying to enhance. What they're doing is they're spraying broadleaf and just deciduous shrubs to limit their growth because they compete with those conifers and they take a lot of nutrients away from them. The thing that's really problematic is that a lot of those deciduous and broadleaf species, so your aspen, trimly aspen, birch, they're very fire resistant. They hold a lot of water. They don't often crown fire, and they don't have a lot of the volatile compounds that are highly flammable in the landscape. So by decreasing the amount of mixed forest that you'd have, so deciduous and conifers together, you are really impacting the fire behavior and the extreme fire behavior you're going to see across those managed landscapes. We know that deciduous trees were a huge component of our forest in the past, and that these mosaics of all these different types of vegetation, and that includes things like huckleberry, our raspberries, all of our wild and native shrubs that are very fire resistant. And those can actually play a really important role in how we protect our community. So if we're thinking about fire breaks, we need to be thinking about, some of the natural vegetation that can really support a more fire resistant and less flammable landscape.
You're listening to BC Today and watching it on CBC Radio 1 as well as our CBC Vancouver YouTube page. I'm Dan Burritt along with Belle Puri. We'd love to hear from you now. How are you coping amid BC's wildfires and air quality challenges? What information is vital for you right now? What do you see where you are? What's the biggest challenge? Give us a call, 1-800-825-5950. Our number in Metro Vancouver, 604-669-3733. You can email us, bctoday@cbc.ca, or give us a call on your cell, pound 690, but please be pulled over or make sure that you are hands-free. Just before we get to our news break, Kira, I want to ask, you wrote an op-ed recently that arguing that Canada's wildfire strategy ought to shift from reactive to more proactive. What specifically would that look like in your mind?
Well, there's a lot of things that we can be doing to prepare for the wildfire seasons that we're expected in the future, but are actually happening right now. And that includes large-scale landscape fuel mitigation, so making sure that we are applying the correct kind of fuel treatments to the places that need them. British Columbia is incredibly diverse in its ecosystems, and there's no one size fits all. So, for example, thinning that works in the Okanagan area would not be as effective in the boreal region or the subboreal forests of our northwest and northern interior. So really understanding and being proactive about what kind of fuel mitigation techniques we're using. And of course, coupling that with the use of prescribed and supporting cultural fire. Those are really effective tools to mitigate wildfire risk. And in my opinion, we're just not doing enough of it. We used to use broadcast burning for silviculture preparation. There used to be a lot of wildlife habitat that was routinely burned. And of course, prior to colonization, the extent of cultural burning would have been widespread across valleys and in alpine areas. And our landscape would have looked very different in the past. And so what I'm really pushing for is to really have a different relationship with our forests. And, if you've ever gone through a forest that's been managed through thinning and through burning, it's quite beautiful. It's good for wildlife, it's good for biodiversity, and it's also good for our human communities because the water is filtered. There's more, plants that are accessible for food security, and just a generally healthier ecosystem.
And if I could ask one more question and ask you to put your wildfire hat on, we have also heard the suggestion that Canada ought to create its own national firefighting force of 400, 500 people. We know that we bring in hundreds of people from Mexico, South Africa, Australia to help, and we certainly help with that. What about a national team in your mind?
Well, I think that we have a lot of firefighters who are doing excellent work in Canada and in British Columbia. I think that we're always going to need external help, and we're always going to be providing that external help to other countries as well. I think that we'd actually be better served by investing more in research, by investing more in fire practitioners and in forester and fire ecologists working together to collaborate on our landscape scale issues. So if we can have more collaborations between people who are actively working, and there's a lot of work for people such as, out of work loggers, forest planners, landscape planners. If we were to actually work together as fire ecologists and foresters, I think that would be incredibly beneficial for how we plan our landscapes for the future.
Kara Hoffman, ecologist at UBC, former wildfire fighter. We appreciate your time and your expertise. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
You are listening to BC Today on CBC Radio 1, streaming on CBC Vancouver's YouTube page and on our CBC Explore channel. I'm Belle Puri along with Dan Burritt. Now, coming up next, our climate and weather specialist, Darius Madavi, will bring us more on our BC-wide weather forecast and how that will impact our wildfires. That's after this CBC News update with Michelle Morton.
Good afternoon. Here are the headlines from the CBC Vancouver newsroom. The fire chief in West Kelowna says he's not aware of anyone missing after wildfires forced thousands of people to evacuate that community and neighboring West Bank First Nation. Jason Brolin says it appears fewer than 100 structures in West Kelowna and West Bank First Nation lands were destroyed, but updated numbers are expected later today. Brolin says more than 3,000 structures have been saved. Meta has responded to criticism from the Prime Minister and BC Premier on its decision to continue its ban on Canadian news content on Facebook and Instagram. In a statement, Meta says it's been clear since February about the Federal Online News Act and its effect on Canadian news content on its platforms. The statement also says Canadians can still access news by going directly to news outlets' websites and mobile apps, while Facebook continues to carry emergency information through crisis response pages for both Kelowna and Yellowknife. Prince George RCMP are appealing for video of an explosion that shook the city this morning. The explosion happened just after 7 o'clock, destroying a building and sending 3 people to hospital. RCMP say any video of this scene before emergency crews arrived could be very important to their investigation. In the local forecast, a special air quality statement remains in place. Sunny and hazy for today, highs of 21, and a chance of showers this evening with a low of 14. Now back to BC Today with Dan Burritt and Belle Puri.
Thanks very much, Michelle. Appreciate you being there. Welcome back, and thank you for joining us on CBC Radio 1, live streaming on CBC Gem, CBC News Explore, and on CBC.ca, as well as the CBC Vancouver YouTube page. You can find us in all sorts of places.
Of course, all eyes are on the weather forecast and the role that will play in the wildfire fight. Let's get the latest now from our CBC News climate and science specialist, Darius Madavi. Good afternoon.
Hello.
What can you tell us? Let's start with Kelowna and the Shuswap region.
Well, it looks like we have temperatures continue to be suppressed by all the smoke in the region. The sun just isn't reaching those areas because it is so smoky. Now, not great in terms of the air quality, but a bit of a mixed bag there. We do have we did have lots of rain in the southeast last night, continuing into today. That band of precipitation is moving further west, so that is some good news. Hopefully it will reach the Okanagan and the Thompson later today, but it could just be the edge of it, just grazing it. So it might be scattered showers. We might see a bit more consistent rain. It's really difficult to tell at the moment, but it does look like they're going to get at least some moisture.
When you say some moisture, Darius, how much are we talking about?
It doesn't look like it'll be that much. It's pretty similar to the forecast yesterday, 1 to 5 millimeters. It seems like what we're looking at could be a little bit more, but that is the most likely range, I'd say. But it is good. The moisture is also bringing the humidity up quite a bit. So we have much higher humidity than we usually do in that region, which is usually quite dry, and much, much higher than it has been for the last week.
In terms of cooling things down, but then making a difference, where's that tipping point for how much we actually need and what this will do?
In terms of the
amount, what real difference it will make?
It's very difficult to say. Conditions are so dry right now that if we just see a big dump of rain, even if it is 10 millimeters of rain, but it comes in a couple hours, most of that is just going to run right off the ground because it is so dry. The drought conditions make this an extremely difficult fire situation because even if we get things that we usually hope for, like rain, it's not going to have the same impact that it would in a normal year.
And so what are we looking for then? Like, you don't want a huge downpour because of what you just explained. Yesterday we were expecting some rain in Kelowna, and I think around 6:30, 7 o'clock last night, I was hearing, there had been a few sprinkles. So what's the happy medium?
A downpour isn't a bad thing by any means, but the only thing that would really help is a couple days to more of consistent rainfall, no matter how heavy that rainfall is, and that's not something that we have in the forecast. We're looking at maybe a few hours of rain scattered throughout the next 36 hours or so, and that's just not going to be enough. It'll definitely bring the fire danger down temporarily, but it's not looking at any long-term reprieve. So if we see the humidity go up, which we are, we see that rainfall come down, which we might, and we see those temperatures stay low, which they should because of the smoke in the region, that system moving through for at least the next couple days. That is the best that we can hope for, and it will help get a foot in the door in terms of getting these fires at least moved back. But it really comes down to the firefighting efforts that are being put in place.
Now, with the wildfires that have been burning, we've seen it here in Metro Vancouver and the South Coast and other areas, is the wildfire smoke. You can smell it. Sometimes you can taste it. Certainly, it is not as bad as what people are experiencing who are out of their homes. We need to emphasize that, and who've lost properties and other things. What about the smoke that's been lingering around here? When might that clear out? What will that take?
On the South Coast, our smoke will be clearing out through today into tonight. We should have relatively smoke-free skies. The air quality will be improving into tomorrow because we have that low-pressure system moving across the south. It's moving into the interior now, pulling that precipitation over further west, and also causing the winds to blow from the south instead of from the east, which is what we have been seeing. And that will push the smoke up into the central interior instead. So going to get smokier up near Prince George and in the Caribou, but less smoky for Victoria and Vancouver and everywhere along the coast for the most part. Smoke will still stay in place for places near where these fires are burning, so Kelowna and Kamloops going to keep seeing that smoke for a while yet.
I think a lot of people probably felt that difference this morning already, right? Yesterday we opened the door with a little bit of trepidation, and it was kind of a big gasp of smoky air, but much different early this morning at least.
Absolutely.
When it comes to long term, we've talked about the shifting seasons of wildfires. They're starting earlier. They're starting in May. We had that hot spell in May after a cold, quote unquote, cold winter. Is there any forecasting that you can do, or any modeling that says how long these are going to last into the fall, possibly the winter?
This gets a bit trickier. There are two big things that I would say. First of all, big fires like Donnie Creek could burn easily through the winter into next year by staying just smoldering underneath the layers that we see. So not something we need to worry about as much in terms of firefighting, but something to look out for certain at the beginning of the next fire season. The other thing is, because of El Nino building in the equatorial Pacific, that usually brings more mild winters to the west coast of Canada and the States, and that could mean that we're going to see a later start to the cold conditions, to the snow that we might see in some of these places. And so that could mean that we carry these fires later into the season, especially because of the drought that we have. Last year, we saw fires burn longer than we would usually expect because the drought was building. That's carried over into this year. Now we have those drought conditions still present going into the fall rather than building in the fall, meaning that these fires could be around for quite a while longer.
How hard is it to model these things? I mean, you're very good at what you do, and you've been proving it day after day with us. But in terms of the modeling and the checking that you have to do, when you speak with other climate scientists and forecasters and meteorologists, where does this rank in terms of challenges?
Fire is one of the more difficult things to model because there's a lot you have to think about. It's not just climate. There's things like vegetation, just local conditions, topography, firefighting efforts and suppression, and how much fuel has built up over years, because we talk about this often, but our forests are meant to go through these fire regimes, these fire cycles. The longer it goes without burning, the more fuels build up, the more severe those fires are, the harder it is for the forest to regenerate. So there's a lot that goes into this besides just looking at the fire weather. So if we're doing something like earlier, just today, a new study came out that was talking about the Quebec fires and how connected they are to climate change. Turns out very connected. We can talk about that another time. But they have to look at just the weather conditions that contribute to those fires and sort of separate that from the fires themselves, because there's so many other things that you have to go into looking at what's causing these fire conditions.
And stand by, we're going to get to some calls. We asked you to call in, and now you are, and we appreciate it. Carol is joining us from Vernon. Carol, what's your situation right now?
Well, right now it's actually raining in Vernon, which is awesome, and I'm just hoping that this rain kind of pushes both directions. I live in North Shuswap, and I chose to leave a few hours before the evacuation order actually came out. And I know people that are there and family that are there. And I just want to sort of maybe just touch a little bit on what I'm hearing and what I know and what I saw. And there's a lot of bad press coming out about equipment being stolen and disappearing. And I just want the listeners to, maybe instead of feeling sympathetic for everything that's happening up in the interior, is maybe just trying to have a little bit more empathy in the situation. Everybody reacts differently to situations. And what I know and what I saw was equipment being set up, fire protection in neighborhoods being set up. A lot of residents, before the order came out, setting up their own sprinkler systems and trying to take care of their own property. And then, the fire is unprecedented. The Bush Creek Lower East Adams fire, I've heard what they've said about it, and it is unprecedented. We watched it evolve. And when everybody, or the people that chose to leave and were ordered out, left, including the 450-strong fire camp that we had, is absolutely understandable because it was a very scary situation. But if there's equipment that is left at the end of your street or on the side, and you see a fire approaching your property and it hasn't been used for up to 48 hours, you're going to go use it. It's not like it was sitting there for 5 or 10 hours unused. It was up to 48 hours. And when people saw that there was no help, there was no communication, they chose to use it.
It's a tough decision. We've been hearing this from both sides of the situation, what to do if there is fire close to you. Carol, thank you for your call.
You're very welcome.
And we do want to hear from you as well. And you can call us at 1-800-825-5950. Or if you are in the Lower Mainland, 604-669-3733. Email us, bctoday@cbc.ca. Darius, well, that's good news that there is rain falling in Vernon.
Yes, I'm just trying to look at the radar now to see exactly where it's falling, to see if it's going to move into Kelowna too. I do see a little bit hitting Kelowna as well, which is great news, and it looks like a little bit more to follow. So
I hate to ask again, but what is a little bit?
That is harder to say based on the radar. It's not the heavy rainfall is to the east of Kelowna. You can Belle, you can see to the east of Kelowna, but it is tracking further west, and there's sort of a finger of the rain heading up towards Kelowna. It's difficult to say how much is falling, but if you take a look at the Environment Canada website, they have a weather station at the Kelowna airport that will be logging how much rain is falling if people do want to take a look. Also great for taking a look at the smoke forecast for the region. You can see over the next 24 hours how smoky they expect it to be, air quality, that sort of thing. Great resource in general.
And remind us, you mentioned that yesterday. What's the website to go to for the smoke forecast?
There's two I would recommend. So yesterday we talked about firesmoke.ca.
Yes.
Firesmoke.ca, and that's a great one for looking at a map that'll show hour to hour sort of where the smoke is expected to move. They do really great work. I should say they use the blue sky model, which is being developed by BC and Alberta. It's an experimental model to smoke forecast, but it's specific to the two provinces. It works, in my experience, quite well. The other thing you can do is go to the BC government's Air Quality Health Index page, and there they have a forecast for what you can expect the air quality to be over the next 24 hours or so, and the Environment Canada page as well. For certain regions, they also have a air quality forecast that works really well.
Let's go to another call now. Roman is joining us from Port Alberni. Roman, you've been patient. We appreciate it. What is your situation?
Right now, we're the small city on the island here that's been affected for some time, although not directly threatened by fires. We've been cut off by the fire at Cameron Lake, and it has made an impact on a number of things. But what I'd like to talk about today is the fact that we're not under direct threat. And let me preface this, please, by saying my thoughts and condolences to all those directly affected by these. You know, if you've lost anything, the keepsakes, lives, everything. I really feel for every one of you, and I pray daily that you're going to be spared if there's any chance that you can be spared from this. And from that, I want to say this is for all of us who are not directly under threat, is this the catalyst? Is this the turning point? And is this the step we take away from living the way we have? And by that, I mean, we always talk about unity. We talk about a lot of things, and when it comes down to these grand chaotic events, it seems to me there's a great big game of hot potato that's played where us as citizens will say, as consumers, we want the government to do this and fix this. And government will say, well, we need so-and-so to get on board. Big business gets involved. Little business gets involved. All these supply chains, all these things that play into our impact on the environment, our impact on climate, seem to be still proceeding like a juggernaut. And at the same time, we're sitting here wondering, is this enough rain? What's a little bit of rain? And can we pray for more rain? So my question to all of us is, when do we stop praying and when do we start using our hands? Because I think the most responsible thing we can do is manage ourselves within the resources instead of continuing to try and manage resources and failing woefully as it appears we are doing now.
Is there anything specific that you would like to see done differently by the province, by the federal government, by local authorities? We know that we hear this term, from housing to the environment to climate change. We all need to work together. Is there somebody who actually needs to take the lead on this?
Yeah, I think so. And I think my personal perspective on a good place to start would be, where are these little startups that are trying to make inroads to better, greener technology? Are they being supported enough? Are they being given a chance to sit on the main table? Or are they being pushed aside in favor of big business with big whatever pockets? Is there another way we can look at standards for housing and standards for business success that is a different measuring? I've spoken about this on BC today before, where we continually celebrate businesses that continue to grow unimpeded, instead of measuring success as a symbiotic, balanced relationship where you survive and you create goods, but you live in a balanced, effective way that doesn't continue to take more than it gives back. Those are ways and means I'd like to see things start from the level and the business level. And as consumers, some are doing a great job making personal choices, not using things or using things that are more green. But I think if we all do our part, it's getting rid of the mindset that it's someone else's responsibility to fix this. That's the real sticky point. And this comes back to a tenet we have in our Indigenous culture, where everything is one. And at this point in time, and I'll throw myself in this group too, because I live this way myself, we are more party than anything, because we don't see what's happening until it affects us directly.
Roman, I appreciate your call. I want to ask you one more question. You mentioned you are Indigenous. Is that correct?
Yes.
Kira Hoffman mentioned the importance of cultural burning, and we've talked about that, using Indigenous knowledge keepers to help manage these forests, since Indigenous people have been doing this since time immemorial. How vital is that in your mind?
It's absolutely critical, because, again, it comes back to being on the ground, being able to see things, being hands-on with the way things are going, and being in the environment, being connected to the land and the resources. We even when I was growing up, had our own programs that brought us young kids out. We did salmon enhancement and learned so much about the rivers, the hydro-riparian zones, what is all dependent upon by the salmon. And we connected ourselves to the salmon rather than buying it at the supermarket and having this abstract concept of food arriving on my plate. And when you connect back, you allow yourself to see beyond the little blinders that you wear all the time. And I'm saying me too. We live in such an entitled world. I'm not putting anyone down. It's the design of our lives. We cannot see what we do not want to see, and we have to learn to see how the impacts of our footprints are on Mother Earth.
Roman, we really appreciate your call and your perspective. We've heard that call before to bring in more Indigenous knowledge keepers. It's quite something. Darius, just before we let you go, can you give us one more wrap up, if you can, on kind of a provincial weather picture in the if I could call them the hot spots and the zones that we're really watching for, the southeast, the interior, and elsewhere?
For sure. So we have that band of moisture moving up, rain happening in the southeast now. We heard from somebody in Vernon moving further west, so great, we're already seeing it there. Looks like a bit heading into Kelowna, so that's great news. That band of moisture will continue moving through today and tomorrow, meaning those scattered showers at least could be seen in the southern interior, especially these hot spots over that time. So tomorrow is really our last chance before a ridge starts building over the southern half of the province, bringing dry and hot conditions back once again. So expect to see the humidity drop and temperatures climb once more. Now, if there's a silver lining to that, which is difficult to say, it means that winds will be extremely low for the most part. So that's a little bit good. And over the next 2 days, even as that band of moisture moves through, you'd expect maybe some high winds as that system passes through. We probably aren't going to be seeing that. Looks like winds will be sustained less than 15 kilometers per hour, gusts less than 30 kilometers per hour, which is exactly where we'd want to be.
Hopefully we have wildfire fighters listening to that and breathing a sigh of relief.
And a lot of people around British Columbia as well.
Absolutely. Darius Madavi, CBC Weather and Climate Specialist, we appreciate your time. Thanks again for joining us.
Thank you.
Smoke, evacuations, loss, worry. BC's wildfires can have profound and sometimes devastating impacts. As the threat from the fires rise, so too can anxiety and fear. The CBC's Janella Hamilton has more.
A heavy blanket of smoke from hundreds of wildfires burning across BC is prompting air quality advisories for much of the province.
There is the air quality advisory for high particulate concentration due to the wildfire smoke that is widespread.
This councillor says the smoky skies can have both physical and psychological impacts, sometimes causing visceral anxiety for people as they fear for the health and safety of their loved ones.
So this smoke ends up reminding us about what might be going on outside of our local area. And then we start to have these fears and worries. Is this coming here? What is summer going to be like for me? Is my home safe? Am I going to be okay?
She says more people are increasingly feeling the threat of climate change, especially as the province deals with fallout of catastrophic wildfires and flooding.
And when we have these thoughts, they're generally matched with some physical symptoms. So that might be kind of the racing heart, sweaty palms, feeling hot all over. Some people describe it as being really jittery or really tight.
Valaka Luna says for her, the smoke triggers thoughts of uncertainty about the future.
For me, it's because I've seen what Kamloops was a few years ago when I was in the midst of the smoky sky, and I know it got so much worse. So for me, I know this is the beginning.
Experts say the reality is climate disasters will most likely continue to worsen, but there are ways to alleviate stress.
Having a support system can be so helpful during this time, even if the support system might be feeling the same way that you are. Not feeling alone in an experience can be really beneficial to make plans for your different what-if thoughts. So what if I do get evacuated? Rather than just hoping it doesn't happen, actually take time to figure out what you would do.
Environment Canada says most of the smoke in the Lower Mainland is expected to dissipate by Tuesday, with some rain relief in sight later this week. Janella Hamilton, CBC News, Vancouver.
Well, the Okanagan area, plagued by wildfires now, is also well known for its fine wineries. For now, they're telling tourists to stay away from the Okanagan and postpone their trips until it is safe. Joining us now for an overview of the impact is Miles Proden, the president and CEO of Wine Growers British Columbia. Hello, Miles.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us. What are you hearing from BC wineries about how this summer and the fires have had an impact on them?
Well, the fires, no doubt, are going to have an impact. We just really were going to wait until things settle down. I was encouraged to hear that weather report here in Kelowna. Rain is not falling here yet, but it sure has cleared up a little bit more. So hopefully it'll give the firefighters a little bit more room to work with to get this under control. But once it is, and once it's back, people are back safely back home, we're expecting to have some devastation. Not just in terms of actual physical devastation to the wineries themselves, but the tourism. We've been seeing a decline in tourism over the last 2 years. We were really hopeful coming out of COVID that people would start to come back, and they just haven't come. They didn't come last summer. They weren't coming to the level that we had hoped before the fires, and now certainly with the ban, we don't expect them to come back for this year at all. So we're looking at next year, but I think the fires are indicative of climate change, and we're really seeing that in the vineyards.
Miles, what challenges have you and other wineries and grape growers seen, not just in the summer months, but just overall in recent years?
Yeah, we've seen, again, I think it clearly, and we've done a couple of surveys and studies, and it's no big surprise, but we wanted to confirm it's climate change. We're seeing, if it's not fires themselves, those are the result of climate change. Heat domes, atmospheric rivers, and more specifically, last Christmas time, mid-December, we had a freeze event here in the Okanagan that was minus 30 and was unique other than just that very cold snap. It extended all the way down to Asuyu. So that was really the first time we've seen cold weather like that go all the way down south. And it is in the south where the majority of grapes here in British Columbia are grown. And those are the red grapes that normally aren't really affected or exposed to cold weather. So based on that, we're anticipating a 50% decline in the crop this year. And so going into this fire season, we were expecting half the grapes, and now it remains to be seen just how the smoke is going to impact what that 50% left is going to mean for us.
50%?
50. Yes, we're shocked. What's unique of it is that the freeze has gone all the way down south, and again, that is where the majority of grapes are. It just doesn't never really get that cold down there. There will be people back in the day who will say that it's happened. I think last in the 90s, but it was never for that kind of extent. So we've been in the vineyards. We've been trying to count the grape clusters, but they're just not there. So. Grapes can be replaced. We've got programs to help that with a vine replant program. But what that really means is that a winery, if you think about having half as much grapes to work with, you're going to have half as much wine to make, which means you're not going to have half as much wine to sell. And as a result, only half as much money to be derived from that. So that's where we're really expecting the damage to be done. And that's not including what's happened with fires and lack of tourism.
Startling numbers, Miles. Please stay with us. We're going to get to a news update, but we're going to come back with Miles Prodan. He is the CEO of Wine Growers BC, talking about the impact of climate change and fires. Now time for news update with Michelle Morton.
This is CBC News from Vancouver. Good afternoon, I'm Michelle Morton. Some people in the Okanagan Lake area are now being allowed to return home. Cooler weather and rain have played a major part in the efforts to bring wildfire there under control. West Kelowna Fire Chief Jason Brolin says crews are doing everything they can to save people's properties.
We're seeing stories and pictures and full motion video of firefighters saving houses on their own with a garden hose. Our firefighters out in the neighborhood patrolling, putting out hotspots, are hearing residents talking to them through their doorbell cam, shouting through the doorbell cam words of encouragement to them.
Still, dozens of families have been told they have no homes to return to, as around 90 structures have been damaged or destroyed in West Kelowna and the West Bank First Nation. And Brolin says around 3,000 structures have been saved. BC's Premier is visiting the Okanagan and Shuswap regions today. They are the hardest hit areas in the most recent wildfires burning across the province. But as Renee Filipponi reports, there is growing tension in the Shuswap region where thousands have been forced to evacuate.
From a boat on Shuswap Lake, you can see the destruction. Homes totally destroyed, others not even touched by the flames. In the community of Salista, Darren Tuoko has been ferrying people and supplies across the lake to help those who are still in evacuation zones.
People just, they decide to say no and not go. Why? And lose everything when you can literally fight it. You got pumps, water right here. I'd do the same.
This isn't the first time people have defied evacuation orders in BC, but officials say the scale has been problematic. Forest Towers is with the BC Wildfire Service.
We have to maintain a very, very close eye on safety.
There has been some rain, but not enough to have a big impact on these fires. And the forecast is calling for warmer weather later in the week. Renee Filipponi, CBC News, Kelowna.
Environment Canada has issued air quality statements that cover about half of British Columbia. It says smoky skies are credited to ongoing wildfires that are burning across BC and are expected to persist for the next 24 to 48 hours. Most of the bulletins are located in the southern half of the province. The Weather Office warns that wildfire smoke can be harmful to health and is recommending people, especially those with underlying health conditions, postpone or reduce outdoor physical activity, especially if breathing feels uncomfortable. Health officials in Prince George say 3 people were taken to hospital after an explosion shook the downtown this morning. The blast leveled a building and was felt across a wide area of the city. Lisa Bolton lives nearby. She says the whole neighborhood shook.
I was at my window and I heard the boom and it pushed me back from my window. So I came outside. I didn't really look up right away. The guy next door, he said his stairs, they lifted and they dropped at the stairs and he fell.
Northern Health says 1 person suffered serious injuries in the blast, while 2 others suffered more minor injuries. RCMP are asking people to avoid the downtown of Prince George while they investigate and are appealing to anyone who has video of the explosion to contact them. Now, it's not the kind of court the Toronto Raptors are used to seeing. Canada's only NBA team is being sued by the New York Knicks. The accusations involve the alleged theft of privileged information, including trade secrets. Idil Musa has more.
The lawsuit filed by the New York Knicks alleges the Toronto Raptors conspired to steal thousands of videos and scouting reports. The Knicks are accusing a former employee who they claim was recruited by the Raptors in June of stealing and forwarding that proprietary information while still employed by the New York team. Sports and entertainment attorney Laith Ghafoor says this case may shed some light around what types of information can be shared.
It may be able to provide us with a little bit more nuance as to where those lines between confidentiality and information being in the public domain.
Former Chief Security Officer for the NBA, Jerome Pickett, says if any wrongdoing took place, experts like him will be able to find it.
There's going to be email trails, there's going to be timelines.
The Toronto Raptors and its parent company says they strongly deny any involvement. Idil Musa, CBC News, Toronto.
And that's the news from CBC Vancouver. Now taking a look at your local weather from Environment Canada. A special air quality statement remains in place. Sunny today with highs of 21. A chance of showers this evening and overnight, cooling down to 14. Tomorrow, a chance of showers in the morning and early in the afternoon with highs of 19, but clear in the evening with a low of 13. On Thursday, sunshine, highs of 23, except 27 inland, and clear at night with a low of 15. A mix of sun and clouds for Friday, highs of 23, except 28 inland, and in the evening, cloudy periods, lows of 15. On Saturday, a mix of sun and clouds, highs up to 28 degrees inland, and sunshine on Sunday with highs of 29 inland, and on Monday, cloudy with highs of 22. Now back to BC Today with Dan Burritt and Belle Puri.
Thank you so much, Michelle. I am Belle Puri, joined by Dan Burritt, and welcome back to this extended edition of BC Today. We're keeping an eye on what's happening with the wildfire situation across British Columbia, and we want to hear from you, your experiences, your stories. You can get in touch with us by calling 1-800-825-5950. You can also call us locally at 604-669-3733. Send us an email, bctoday@cbc.ca. Now, we have Miles Broden on the line. Miles is the president and CEO of Wine Growers British Columbia. Thanks for staying with us, Miles, through the newscast. You know, just before that, you were talking about the hit that you've taken in terms of tourists not coming back to wine country after the pandemic. That surprises me. You know, we hear a lot about how people are eager to travel and are doing so, but you're saying they're not coming back to the wineries?
Not to the level that we had seen prior to the pandemic. But I think, you know, we understand that there are, concerns with everyone's budget. If it's not inflation, it's interest rates, and, everyone's affected by it. And so we just see people just not really coming to visit. I think the other aspect, and this we can't quantify, but we just sort of intuitively feel that it's the fear or thought of a fire, not a fire, but the smoke affecting a holiday. So what we've seen a lot is cancellations of weddings. Weddings planning goals are years in advance, obviously, and they're booking at wineries. And they're starting to cancel those anecdotally, and they're even before a fire or smoke comes, they just are worried that it may well be the case when the wedding comes around. So I think just the thought of smoke and impacting a holiday is part of it as well, and so that's the concern, and it's really too bad, obviously, not just for the wineries, but the whole wine and culinary cuisine tourism around the province, not just here in the Okanagan, is really built up, and it's special because it's rural. It's really about dispersing those tourists that come to Vancouver, Victoria, Whistler. But it really, because of the nature of we growing the wine, literally, people come to probably less visited areas around the province. So, and again, hotels and everything that holds up that. But the numbers just aren't there. And so this is even prior to the situation here in Kelowna. So, we're hoping for a big flourish at the end, but it doesn't look like it's going to be the case.
But, I can understand that must be quite disturbing because the Okanagan, certainly known as a place for destination weddings. And if more and more, like in the past few summers, we're having smoky Julys and fiery, smoky Augusts, it could mean a change like to the big picture in terms of it being a destination.
Absolutely. I mean, again, it is a special, it is, unique. We get people from all over the world, wine journalists, winemakers who are quite blown away literally when they come and see what we've got here to offer. Not just the wines and the quality wines that we produce, but just the unique, conditions between the mountains and the lake and the river. I mean, just all over BC, there's fantastic conditions that make it very, very unique. And so, yeah, it's disappointing. But again, I think it's indicative of just climate change and how it's affecting everything, people's plans and just an anticipation for it. So, but again, really, it's problematic directly for a winery because they have the best margin of a sale to someone that walks into the door at the winery. They establish that relationship. The consumer gets to meet the winemaker, the vineyard manager, the tasting room manager, generally because it's all the same person, but they get to have that relationship. And so that's not just about the wine sale then, it's about getting on the wine list and being a real booster for that brand. So it's not just missing that one stop of a visit, it's the establishment of a relationship with a customer forever.
Miles, to that end around the impact of climate change, how are wineries working to adapt to it?
Well, it's a good question. There's if you realize our grapes really for here in BC aren't that old in terms of the planting. It was the first free trade agreement that really awoken people to realizing what we had planted at the time were hybrid grapes that ironically were able to sustain cold weather, but didn't make as great a wine. And so we tore those out and put in the vinifera grape is what we have here now, which is your classic European style of grapes, your Pinot Noirs, your Cab Sauves, all the names people would recognize. And that really helped to establish us. But that was 30 years ago, and people just sort of did it just without really a guidebook to follow, if you will. And so over time and with climate change, we're recognizing and realizing that maybe we didn't plant the right thing in the right place, and it's about replanting. And so we've been working closely with the provincial government with some funding to make sure we're putting grapes in the ground now and vines in the ground now that can help sustain or at least take on some of this cold weather and really grow in the conditions that now that we've got some history with that. So, but one of the unique things about the replant program is it doesn't recognize wine. It recognizes the grapes as an ag product, but it doesn't recognize wine as an ag product. And so, again, it gets back to those grapes can be replaced. They can be replaced with varieties that are more suited for climate change. But that does not help the winery today that's only going to have half as many grapes to work with this vintage with only half the amount of wine and only half the amount of revenue. So that is material to any business that's only got half as much money coming in as they had planned.
Mm-hmm. Miles, stay on the line with us, please. We're going to hear from someone else in wine country. Mark is calling us from Summerland. Hi, Mark.
Hello.
Hello. Tell us about your thoughts about how this season is unfolding.
Well, it's horrible, for one, and climate change is real. And we all know that now, if we didn't know it before. So I was just making comment on another fellow that phoned in, saying that his neighbors, they have machinery, cats, and hoses and pumps, and that they're not being allowed to go in with it. And to me, it's just it doesn't make any sense. And but there's a lot of good and there's a lot of bad, and I think there's some mismanagement. And it all started with privatization of firefighting. Like, I fought fires back in the 80s. And back then, if they needed somebody, they would actually go into the bar, and you were either going to fight fire and learn how to do it, or you're going to jail. I signed up because I wanted to work, and we were just given these courses for free. Mm-hmm. And now with privatization of companies, there's 1 million companies that fight fire, and they profit off these courses that guys have to take to be eligible to go out. And I have those courses. I'm a ticketed faller, and I have all the fire suppression courses, but I've kind of bowed out of it just for the reasons that we're talking about right now, because it seems to me that as a business, they don't make money unless our forests are burning up. So that kind of, to me, is kind of doesn't sit well in my heart or mind, and that's not why I went to fight fires. I went to make money as a young man, and but it was about, like I say, I signed up with a company out of the island, off the island, out of Duncan, and I won't bring up any names, but I went and I passed their fitness test, a couple of years ago, did all the fire suppression tickets, and they had actually drawn young men in from Ontario and from Washington, and they all paid money to take these courses. And that year, thank God, there weren't a whole lot of fires in our province, but they had guys on unpaid standby expecting to go to work after they'd spent, $300 per ticket or whatever it was, and never went to work. So there's just another side of it.
Mark, can I ask you, we've heard concerns before, and in fact, we're going to have somebody on the show later today, retired firefighter, retired pilot, talking about wanting to step up and help again. If there was a different system where perhaps you didn't have to pay, but you could offer your services and perhaps get paid for it as a former wildfire fighter, and you've been trained for it, etc., is that something you'd sign up for?
Well, absolutely. Like I said, there's too much, there's too many companies, and it's like I was evacuated last year. I think I was up in the Northwest Territories working, and my place, Green Mountain Road, everybody was evacuated, and the remnants of that is still there. And like I said, I'm 59, right? And this is a couple of years ago that I went and did these tickets and was going to go to work because I thought we were going to have another bad fire season. But it was semi all right that year. And it just seems like there's too much competition for guys that are and want to help to be involved. Like they should be, I don't know, it's getting bad. So desperate measures, require desperate measures, right?
Yeah.
So, anyways, in regards to people actually staying on their property and fighting fire, I'm not rich enough to own property in BC. I wish I was. But if I had property, I probably would be, I'd have a hard time leaving. If I had the equipment there to fight it, I'd probably stay. So I totally understand that side. Of course, if things are being engulfed and can't even be fought, then it's time to leave. But at a certain point, as a property owner, I would say you're probably wondering, where are they? Right? And you start doing stuff proactively yourself.
Yeah. Mark, we really appreciate your time and your perspective. Wonderful that you were able to join us and give us an idea of what it was like and certainly how things have changed. But again, you're not the only person that's reached out with some training who's expressed frustration, wanting to get involved and not exactly sure where to go.
And we were definitely hearing about that over the last couple of days, where even the suggestion that perhaps retired firefighters or someone who could contribute strategically.
Yeah.
Not on the ground, but they have experience.
The logistics, the planning, it's such a monumental effort on a scale I think most of us can appreciate. We have an email from Michelle in Pemberton we want to read with you now. She says, many years ago, when my husband was younger, he was a logger. When logging was shut down for fire season, the loggers would be called upon to go to the front lines to fight the wildfires. This is not done anymore, and I'm wondering why. Those who work in the forest industries have a lot of knowledge to offer, especially when resources are stretched thin. If there is an official out there, perhaps BC Wildfire Service, if you're listening, or somebody can answer that question, maybe there is a recruitment tool that we don't know about, and certainly we see those images, Belle, when you've been out and the videos, we see wildfire fighters with the hacks and picks and shovels. They're busy, but wondering about loggers specifically. That's a good question. Let's go back to Miles Proden for a moment. Miles, I want to talk about adaptation and appreciate you sticking with us. When it comes to adaptation, do you envision a time when, perhaps because of climate change and other factors, where the seasons are radically different for wine growing in BC?
Well, listen, there's climate change is real, and I think we're seeing the effect of that. And winemaking is all about grape growing. Like, if you don't grow grapes, you're not making wine. It sounds trite, but it's true. And so we recognize that, and that's why it's so important that we're recognized as farmers first and foremost. But we are seeing changes for sure. I mean, and it's not just warm, it's cold. And I spoke a little earlier about this cold snap that we had in December, which some would think that might affect, or make a better opportunity for ice wine. But unfortunately, it just doesn't work that way. Ice wine, in fact, that'd be too cold for ice wine. But it's really shifting the calendar around. And we're, when do you plant, or when do the grapes come through, and when do they grow? And in the end, for grape growing, it's all about, you can grow grapes in a lot of places around the world, but it's all about ripening them and getting that right balance and getting that right heat in the day and cool at night. And that's really what people enjoy about BC wine, is we've got those cool nights and hot days in the fall when we're ripening, and that's important. But that's happening earlier and earlier all the time. And so, there's only so many growing days. The sun is only available for so many, and it's more about light than it is about heat. Anyway, it's complicated, but you're right. It's shifting. And so you need to be on your toes. You need to be adaptive. Fortunately, we've got winemakers who now have got decades of experience and are really learning, and is proof in the pudding, if you will, with the wines that they're making. They understand how to do it. Technology is progressing, and so we've got an edge. But again, it's just difficult. And if you're not able to, the grapes just aren't there, you're not going to have little wine. And in the end, that's what makes it all turn, is actually having that great BC wine that people love.
Miles, you spoke earlier about having to adapt to climate change and becoming more innovative and having different techniques and procedures. I assume all of that costs money. So at what point, will wineries still be profitable, or will that have an impact?
Absolutely, and that's the other issue, that when we talk about only having half as many grapes to work with, the automatic answer is, well, it's just good, supply and demand. I guess you can raise your prices, but it doesn't work that way, unfortunately. Consumers have choice. We recognize that. You walk into any liquor store in this province, and you'll see wines literally from all over the world, and some of it very inexpensive. A lot of countries see Canada as a growth market, if you will, or it's got room to absorb some of this excess product that they're developing or making. And so consumers have choice. And so we can't just keep adding the price. And if you think about the adaptation and the technology, and that does all cost money. And what do you do with those costs? Well, you can't just pass them on to the consumer. We recognize that BC wine is not the cheapest product available. I'll argue it's the best value, but it's certainly not the cheapest, and we know that. So we've got to be very careful that we don't want to overprice our products, as people have a choice. And as much as they like to support local in BC, in the end, with interest rates and mortgage payments to be made and all those pressures, people are watching their money very carefully, and rightfully so. And so we just have to be aware of that. So we got to do it all so that it makes sense. But we also need to remain in business. We pay a living wage for everybody that works in our wineries, whether you're at the tasting room, or for a winemaker, in the cellar, or you're in the vineyards. We pay a living wage and these are good career jobs for people. So that doesn't happen everywhere around the world either, by the way, as you would imagine. But so those are costs for us, and we've got to recognize we can't pass those on, and we've got to be competitive. But we also have to make a living at it and be able to come back for another year. Absolutely.
And you talk about wages and making a living. So I'm wondering about the impact of not having tourists come back. What's the impact on winery staff?
That's the problem that we're going to be facing. We were already taking a look at that with the decline in the crop anticipated this year, without the drop in tourism. And so we've got wineries already considering, again, if I only have half as much grape to work with, do I need a full-time winemaker? And what do I do with, what do I do? If I'm only getting half the revenue, there's only one way to mitigate that, really, and that's to cut costs. And where do you do that? And one of the biggest costs in a winery is labor, again, because of the living wage that we pay. And it's also the vineyards, too. Again, even if the crop isn't there, those vines still need to be tended. You don't just walk away and say, okay, we'll start again next. It doesn't work that way. You've got to work with what you've got. So if you're only getting half the grapes from them, that doesn't mean you ignore them. And in fact, because they're sick, if you will, or injured because of the cold, they're going to need that much more care. And So you're going to have to put that much more effort into it. So again, it's yet another cost to this. So it's all linked, as it always is, and it just is the domino effect. So again, it's we've got to be careful, and we've got to do the right thing. And again, climate change isn't helping, and fires and smoke keeping tourists away is definitely not an answer.
Miles, stay with us. We're going to take another call. Keith is joining us from North Vancouver. Thanks for joining us, Keith. What do you want to say?
Yeah. I was just listening to the news yesterday, and I think it was in the Shuswap area. There was an official that was commenting on how fire hoses and ATV and other items have been essentially stolen with regards to the firefighting effort. And the producer that I chatted to, he did mention that somebody mentioned that if there's fire hoses at the end of your street and your house is potentially going to go, you'd use them. And I totally agree with that. But at the same, I agree with that. But at the same time, if these, firefighters are trying to get around to, they know that there's gear at spot drop point A or whatever, they're going back for it and then it's gone. Just really, not really helping the greater good, I guess. So just kind of surprised that the official didn't really seem to have an issue with it. I don't know who it was, and it doesn't really matter, I guess. But they're just like, we'll probably get it back, and that's how it goes. So that kind of, especially coming from an official, kind of surprised me that it's kind of like you're taking safety equipment from the neighborhood, or you're determining that a fire hydrant or something. Hey, I just want to have a slip and slide one afternoon. I'm just going to use that for my advantage. So I understand the grief people are going through. I couldn't imagine, absolutely couldn't imagine. But to take equipment just doesn't, don't really get it, I guess.
Keith, appreciate the call. Just to clarify, that was from Forrest Tower, who was speaking with us yesterday live here on BC Today, who had mentioned that they'd had, and he was hesitant to officially call it being stolen, but had mentioned either used, misplaced, borrowed, that kind of thing. He'd mentioned the ATV, the garbage being thrown at trucks. He was sympathetic because there are people who are in very desperate situations. I didn't get the sense that he was endorsing it or anything like that, but just in the past few minutes, we've gotten some updates from the Premier and Harjit Sajjan's tour and other officials, and they are getting confronted by some people. We hope to get some updates for you on that, who are extremely frustrated with what they perceive as a lack of action by some BC wildfire officials, perhaps other government officials, feeling that they haven't done enough to protect people's homes, and not to say that is justifying the action of whoever is taking or borrowing this equipment. But you can certainly sense that there is some frustration out there from people who think that if it's not being used, they can't see it being used, that they think it's probably best that they take it.
Yeah.
Any follow-up on that for you, Keith? All right, I think Keith has gone for us, but that's okay. Appreciate the call. I know we are staring up a deadline for the news. Why don't we go back to Miles Proden for a moment? Miles, what message do you have for people who are used to visiting wineries in the Okanagan, those who have canceled? We can understand that the destinations or people are being told not to go right now, and we know that certainly is a heavy gut punch for the industry. Once this is resolved and those orders and are lifted, what's your message to people?
Well, come back for sure. But I also think it's important to realize that there are many wineries still open here in the Okanagan as well. So the fires clearly are here in Kelowna. They do extend into the Similkameen and into some aspects further down in the south. But know before you go. Check the winery. Check the websites to Destination BC, for instance, to make sure that you're clear to visit. But there are many wineries throughout the province. Again, Fraser Valley has got some great wineries. Vancouver Island, the Gulf Islands, over in the Creston Valley. There's wineries all throughout this great province that have products. So and they are open and want visitation. But in the meantime, recognize that there are travel bans in specific areas, especially here in Kelowna, but that doesn't mean you can't stop enjoying a BC wine. There's a lot of it available, as I say, in a store near you, if you will. continue to support. A lot of them will direct deliver. Call, and if you've got your favorite one, call and buy a case from them. I'm sure they'll be more than happy to sell you that. But it's still available. The wine is still there, and even though we're going into a short crop that we're going to have much less grapes to work with, doesn't mean that there's not going to be wine. So please continue enjoying BC wine. We're fortunate that people in BC buy local and they love BC wine, and keep it up, and we really appreciate the support.
There are certainly many ways to enjoy BC wine. Miles, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.
My pleasure.
Miles Proden is the president and CEO of Wine Growers of British Columbia. You're listening to a extended edition of BC Today as Dan Burritt and I keep an eye on the wildfire situation across British Columbia. We have a lot more coming up for you throughout the afternoon, but we're going to take a short break here for some news headlines.
Good afternoon. Here are the headlines from the CBC Vancouver newsroom. I'm Michelle Morton. Premier David Eby, the Emergency Management Minister and Forest Minister, are in the Southern Interior today and are scheduled to meet with local First Nation leadership, evacuees, fire chiefs, and crews. Eby's office says the trio are scheduled to visit Kamloops, Salmon Arm, Kelowna, and Penticton. Several large wildfires are burning in that region, including the McDougall Creek wildfire affecting West Kelowna, and Lake Country that forced the evacuation of thousands on the weekend. Environment Canada has issued air quality statements covering about half of British Columbia. It says smoky skies are expected to persist for the next 24 to 48 hours because of the wildfires. The Weather Office warns wildfire smoke can be harmful to health and is recommending people, especially those with underlying health conditions, postpone or reduce outdoor physical activity, especially if breathing feels uncomfortable. And in Prince George, 3 people were taken to hospital, one with serious injuries, after an explosion downtown this morning. The blast leveled a building and it was felt across a wide area of the city. The cause of the explosion is still under investigation, and RCMP are asking anyone with video footage to contact them. In the local forecast, a special air quality statement remains in place. Sunny and hazy today, highs of 21, and a chance of showers this evening with a low of 14. Now back to BC Today with Dan Burritt and Belle Puri.
Thank you very much, Michelle. It is nice to see. I love seeing the clouds, isn't it? We know tis the season, right, in BC when we get too many wildfires and then suddenly, we can cool it down. It's great.
Absolutely.
So we would love to hear from you now. How are you coping amid BC's wildfires and air quality challenges? What sort of information is most important to you? Where do you see, or what do you see where you are? There we go. What's the biggest challenge for you right now? Give us a call, 1-800-825-5950. 669-3733 is our number. Pound 690 on your cell phone. Please be pulled over or hands-free when you do that. You can email bctoday@cbc.ca, and we appreciate it. We have seen those emails. More of them are coming in, and we'll read a few of them later, as many as we can. We want to turn our attention to the other big story in our province right now and get some updates. At least 3 people have been taken to hospital after an explosion and a fire in downtown Prince George. The RCMP says it happened in an abandoned building at 7 this morning. Lisa and Dwayne Bolton were 2 of the witnesses.
Can you describe what happened when the explosion happened?
Well, I came out here and there was like a huge black cloud of smoke. So we were just watching, and then the police told everybody to move back. He said it was probably a gas thing, but we seen a guy videotaping earlier, and we seen a lady that lost her hand. She was screaming, so a couple of people went to hospital. It's just...
Yeah, and there he said there was heart disease. Yeah. I mean, the blow up was so bad. We live a few blocks, and it shook my window. There used to be, it's like it was most kind of like a garbage.
Or the trains.
But it felt like this morning. It felt like a car hit our building really hard. Yeah.
And what happened when you got thrown back?
Yeah, I was sitting at my window, and I had my window because I let my cat out, and I was sitting there, and then the boom happened, and it pushed me back. And the guy that lives at John Howard next door, he was saying that he was on the stairs, and the stairs literally lifted up and then came back down, and he fell. Yeah, so it's pretty scary.
Yeah, it is.
That's Lisa and Dwayne Bolton. They are two witnesses of the explosion that rocked downtown Prince George this morning. Now, for the latest on the explosion, we're joined by the Media Relations Officer for Prince George RCMP, Corporal Jennifer Cooper, is on the line. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
Let's start with the latest. What does the scene look like right now?
We still have a lot of emergency crews out on scene. The streets are still blocked off for safety. Fortis is out there working to get the gas line shut off to that building so that we can fully put out everything. So, we can start going in there and seeing what caused such a big explosion today.
Corporal, what's the latest on the number of injuries, and do we know how serious they are?
We still have the three from this morning that we reported injured. I've been in contact with our local health authority, Northern Health, and they have no further people that have come to the hospital in relation to this event, or not the initial explosion, certainly. 2 people are still being assessed by hospital staff, and we do have 1 person who still remains in serious condition.
So 7 o'clock this morning when the explosion happened, how busy was it in that neighborhood at the time?
Thankfully, that is right before our kind of busy downtown commuting hour starts. So there was not a lot of foot traffic or business traffic in the area. The city workers were out, of course, doing their early morning rounds of watering flowers and cleaning up, tidying up the streets and what they do. So we did have some employees out there, and there were some businesses that were open, coffee shops and whatnot, but most of it was still pretty calm.
How long will that scene be closed off to the public? Because we know there are a lot of businesses around there, Corporal, that would be affected.
Some of the businesses in the area have been allowed in order to start assessing the damage to their buildings. And many of the windows in the area, as far away as 4 or 5 blocks away, did the glass shattered. So, the Downtown Business Association has been working with them to try and get those windows and everything boarded up, before nightfall, for the safety of the buildings, or the businesses, sorry.
Mm-hmm. So if the business people go back into their premises, do they have utilities? Is there power?
The power was shut off earlier. I haven't had an update on whether it's turned back on yet. I think the natural gas in the area is on. I think it was just being turned off to that one building. But it's going to be a little bit of a rough go for the next undetermined amount of time, and just until we can get a determination on what caused that, and if it's a crime scene, if that was a suspicious fire or what started it. So we still have yet to make those determinations because the scene's still a little bit too volatile for any of our fire investigators to get in there to start really digging through and finding out what happened.
Corporal, just to clarify, what do we know about the building? We met you, police it earlier. You mentioned it had been abandoned. Do we know how long for?
The building, as far as I know, has been abandoned for nearly a decade. So it was an old restaurant, but it has not been used in quite some time.
And were you aware if there were people finding refuge in this empty building?
I don't know if there were any currently, although in the intervening years, I'm sure it has been at one point or another. There were some of our more unhoused persons seen leaving the area, but whether they were just sheltering in the alcove or coming from kind of more inside the building, we have yet to determine.
Corporal Jennifer Cooper, the Media Relations Officer for Prince George RCMP, giving us an update on the explosion in downtown Prince George this morning. And Corporal, can you just clarify, when is the next update? I believe it's from the fire department?
Yeah, actually myself, the City of Prince George and the fire department will all be meeting at 2:30 right outside the building there, about a block away, to provide our latest.
Okay. And we'll watch for that. Corporal, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Back to fires now. We had mentioned earlier that Premier Eby on a tour of some of the fire-affected regions today, was confronted by locals upset by the province's response to the wildfires. We have some tape of that interaction. The sound is a little hard to hear at the beginning, but it does touch on some of the points that our callers have been making about the people who stay behind and refuse to comply with evacuation orders. Here's a part of what happened.
People that are still there fighting spot fires to save neighbors and their own homes, and they're getting arrested by the police.
And I don't know,
you know,
like where's the logic in that? Like why isn't somebody higher up trying to help?
They're working, they're doing the best they can, Yeah, absolutely. I understand the anxiety,
Our whole upper community was lost.
Yeah, it's
and
horrible.
People still up there trying to help.
Yeah.
And they're getting arrested. There are police boats at the shore, stopping supplies, fuel, for generators. People in Inglemont running out of food. They're trying to help boat stuff over. Like, where's the logic in that?
People on the front line trying to keep people safe is number one, right? So
well, this is all like a PTSD. They run out of water and food. How's that keeping them safe?
So that's Premier David Eby hearing from British Columbians today with their concerns about how the forest fire situation is being handled. Now, earlier today, we got an update on the wildfire situation from the chiefs in West Kelowna and Kelowna. Take a listen.
Now we'll pass it on to Jason Brolin, Fire Chief of West Kelowna.
Thanks, Jody. Good morning, everybody. I know we're all struggling with the smoke out there. We are as well. It's covered our city like a gray blanket. And I know it kind of represents the way that a lot of you are feeling, and it definitely represents the way that we're feeling too. I know lots of you are tired. You're tired of being out of your homes. You're tired of this situation that we're in, and so are we. But we're not stopping and we're not giving up, and nor should you. The smoke is going to lift today. We're going to start flying planes again. We're going to see our friends from the Wildfire Service out there hard at work. But the mountains around our community are going to look different. We haven't seen them since the fire, and it might be pretty dramatic to start to see what we've lost out there, and that's kind of the theme for today. Our firefighters are in your neighborhoods. You know this because many of you have doorbell cams. Many of you have witnessed the hard work and heroics often of the firefighters, in some cases saving your homes with the garden hoses that you've left out for us. In some cases, you've seen them come and put sprinklers on your homes, move your patio furniture, fire smart, move your wood pile, take care of your propane tanks. It's been an interesting factor for us that often you've talked back to us through your doorbell cams and told us that we're doing a good job. And that's new for us, but we appreciate that. I have to say, I really am beginning to feel like we're turning the corner here on this fire. And a major measure of that was the rescinding of some evacuation orders that were rescinded to alerts yesterday. It was small, but it was a good small step. I feel like we might be turning the corner a bit on the weather as well. So we are meeting multiple times a day to talk about where and when and how we can rescind these evacuation orders. It's something that Brad and I is always on our mind, and we're talking about it constantly. I understand that many of you are waiting for emergency support services. I understand that those waits can be frustrating as well. I want to share with you that I understand that because we are all in this together. My family also continues to wait in the same line as you. We have a white card and will be seen in priority order So we're there with you. I ask for your continued patience. ESS is a great program. It's delivered on the ground by volunteers, coordinated by the province. I understand the frustrations. We've been talking about it a lot. I've asked if there's solutions, and I know things have already been put in place in the last 24 hours to make it better. I want to highlight the hard work of the firefighters, as I always do. Last night, they characterized it as a calm but very busy night. They dealt with numerous flare-ups from far and near across the community. The firefighters fought 24 spot fires around the area over the course of the night. There was a very close call in one of the neighborhoods where a tree and wood pile ignited, and the home nearby was saved through the action of firefighters. We are working still incredibly hard to make sure that we don't lose any homes. Like I often do, I want to highlight the work of some of the other people involved, people that you might not think of, or people who don't get any credit for all of this. As you know, we have 41 fire apparatus from other communities, fire engines and tenders that are here protecting our community. We're firefighters, we like to break things. This equipment needs to be maintained. Well, we have a team of mechanics from the city of West Kelowna who are working hard to maintain those trucks. Not only the ones from West Kelowna, but the ones who have come to us from across the province. And over the last few days, our mechanics have been hard at work doing that. They're actually taking parts off of City of West Kelowna fleet vehicles and putting them on fire trucks from other communities to get them repaired and keep them on the road. And they're doing it quietly in the background without the need for any credit. But today they're going to get that credit. They're keeping us on the road, and we are very appreciative of that. So there's been some earlier discussion about notifications, and I'm confident that the EOC is building a process that will help all of us notify you, balancing our need to want to do it compassionately with wanting to get that news out to you quickly about the loss of your home. I know that they also talked about sharing exact numbers with you, and it's important that we get those exact numbers right. Obviously, in any situation, there's always the opportunity for a line to be in the wrong place or a number to be assigned in the wrong column, and we want to ensure that we're accurate because this is important work. But in the meantime, while that's coming from the EOC, which would be later today, I would anticipate, I will share just very briefly on behalf of the City of West Kelowna and WFN that I expect the number of partial and full losses to be less than 90, less than 70 in the City of West Kelowna, and less than 20 on WFN territory. I hope that provides the public with some of the scope and scale of what we're dealing with, and also creates the added time that we need from the EOC to refine these numbers and perfect them before we release the exact numbers to the media. But what I don't want to lose in all of that is but the number in the second column on my page here is the number that was saved. And that's over 3,000 that weren't affected in our area of operations. So Canada Task Force 1 has demobilized from West Kelowna with their objectives completed. I want to thank these men and women who came here on a moment's notice, who lived on and operated. And they've completed the work that I asked of them far quicker than I would have expected in a very efficient and safe manner. I wish them safety as they move to their next deployment. I also want to share with the public that through cooperation between Canada Task Force 1 and the RCMP, numerous individuals have been working hard with the data that's been collected. They've pursued investigative techniques and done their best to identify potential sites that may need to be searched for people who didn't make it out of the fire. The Canada Task Force 1, with that information in hand and targets sites identified, used specialized dogs to deploy to those target sites and searched. I've worked closely with Superintendent Triance and her team as well. And to the best of our knowledge at this time, there has been no loss of life and there are no missing persons outstanding from the fire. However, if someone you know is missing, I encourage you to contact Superintendent Triance's team at the RCMP and report that. That's very encouraging news for all of us that are involved in this. I mentioned that I felt as though our evacuation was orderly, but that I desperately hoped that everyone made it out. And today, to the best of our knowledge, using the best techniques that we have at our disposal, I can share that news today. So what are we up to today? As has been mentioned, there are 41 structural firefighter apparatus out on the ground. It's 172 structural firefighters who are part of a much bigger team that are doing the things that I mentioned earlier, out in the neighborhoods, putting out fires, fire smarting, and maintaining the systems that are in place. But as many have discussed already, we're working on re-entry planning and notifications. I want to thank everyone. I've talked about being patient, about being calm and cooperative, and doing everything that you do safely. We're still doing that today, and I hope that you all are as well. We're making progress. Things are getting better. We're going to get this thing across the finish line. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Brolin. If we could have Travis Whiting, from the Kelowna Fire Department, please come up.
Sorry, hi, good morning. Just to start, last night was a good night over here on this side of the lake, and through the night and into today, we've had crews still diligently working and trying to put a perimeter and a fence around this fire and stop any future growth from it, so we can start to see people get back into their homes. I did have a good chance to drive the perimeter this morning along with Mayor Dias and get eyes on the entire outside of this fire. Incredible to watch actually some of the work being done. Wildfire and structural crews up the hills like mountain goats, working in the dark in the dirty areas, trying to get this perimeter guard put around so we can get people back into their homes. And as Jason mentioned, it's a key priority. It's something that's heartfelt that we want you back in your homes, back in your beds, and starting to get some semblance of normalcy as much as we can after an event like this. So top of mind, and stay tuned. We'll do as best we can to get people back as soon as it is safe, which is the key priority. And we did get a few in last night, and hopefully over the next couple of days, we'll see that continue on. In relation to loss, just an update on that. Preliminary field assessments at this point indicate minimal damage to infrastructure. Crews did a great job dealing with critical infrastructure like water supply through the area. But field assessments still continue, and there's still some areas with the clearing of the smoke. We'll get a better aerial view and be able to get into a few of the other areas we haven't been in yet, and so we'll be able to finalize our assessments hopefully today or tomorrow and put a concrete number and status on potential loss. Early assessments, just to update from yesterday, indicate that it's actually 3 houses and 2 outbuildings on 4 properties that have been lost. The 3 houses were actually on 2 properties located on Glenmore Road, adjacent to the Glenmore landfill, north of the Shady Lane RV and Trailer Park, and south of the North Glenmore Dog Park. 3 of the 4 property owners have been notified, and evacuees are reminded to register with ESS at ess.gov.bc.ca so officials have current contact information. We'd like to extend our heartfelt sympathy to those who have lost their homes. We understand this is extremely stressful, and we will work directly with you to ensure that you have the supports that you need. The recovery for all 5 impacted local governments is going to look different. The City of Kelowna has been able to assess the situation relatively quickly due to where the losses occurred, current fire activities, and hazards in the area. The assessment task for other local jurisdictions is much more complex and may take longer. Everyone's working hard to do accurate assessments and determine the best method to get the information to impacted property owners as soon as possible. We're asking for your patience as we work through this. We're all working together. We're all working jointly. It may look different from one part of a community to the other based on the situation that each of us are facing, but it is done jointly and it is being done as quickly and effectively and efficiently as possible. And we appreciate the patience that we've seen so far and the way that the community has and continues to work together to support each other through these difficult times. So we're hoping for good news over the next couple of days with this weather change and better clarity and better eyes from up top. And we'll continue to provide information through the EOC to make sure that you're all well informed.
Thank you, Chief Whiting. Darren Lee, Fire Chief from the District of Lake Country, please.
Morning, everybody. Thank you for your time. I just wanted to start off by thanking the public again for their amazing support. That means a lot to our responders. It provides them this kind of natural energy. Like I said yesterday, they're very optimistic, hardworking folks, but the outpouring of support is really helping keep up our morale, and that kind of translates into helping keep energy up throughout the day. So they really appreciate folks reaching out with kind messages and stuff on social media. What I would like to do is after the conference is just provide some of the members of the press email address and physical address if folks want to send in cards and things like that. I know Mayor Ireland had mentioned this the other day, and Chief Rowland kind of touched on this. So the outpouring of support at the fire hall has been overwhelming, and now we have an overwhelming amount of perishable food in the fire hall. And I'd like people to, like, and all kidding aside, I'd really like to ask the public, if you feel like you want to support and it's going to make you feel good, consider making a donation for what you can to one of the charities that's going to support with recovery, because this will be a long process. So whether it's a food bank or the Red Cross or one of the other charities that could no doubt offer direct support to the people most impacted, I think that would mean a lot. We know it's coming from you, and I think that's the best place to direct it. I think that would be, the Central Okanagan, all of the communities, it's a very strong place, and there's a really strong tie to community service here. And I think that would just really help support folks through the process. And I just wanted to provide a little update on the fire. I'll start off, our senior staff has started to reach out to homeowners. So I can confirm that there's a total of 3 homes lost throughout the district, and it's not concentrated in one specific area. There's a number of outbuildings lost as well. And to the best of our knowledge, until we get to fly it and recon it in the day, that's where we're at so far. As Brad mentioned, we had a really stable night overnight, and crews were able to make good progress. Cold trailing around homes and things like that. As the days wear on, smoldering fires around trees and stuff become a real problem for us. So part of the threat to firefighters now is danger trees, and also that's a problem for the community. So I just wanted to touch on evac alerts and orders, but there is a plan in place working with Wildfire, with BC Hydro and the EOC to do danger tree assessment and danger tree falling where we need to. So they don't go out, and they will go out and identify the trees that need to come down to make it safe for re-entry. Last night, with the help of the EOC, the RCMP, Wildfire were able to lift the evac order on a couple of small parcels. So one area up on the very far northeast corner of the incident, and one area in the very far southwest corner of the incident, which I believe is going to open up Glenmore Road, which helps folks in all of our communities, whether you're doing business or you live in Kelowna or live in Lake Country. It's going to start to get life back to help get life back to normal for those on the periphery. We're working on a couple more options here, but again, we want to make sure it's safe for folks to re-enter. And just one more thing for all the firefighters and police officers and first responders out there, our friends at Wildfire, just if you guys could please be safe, we'll get through this, stay strong. And I really do feel like with the hard work, mostly the hard work and the weather, we're starting to turn a corner on this. So I'm starting to get optimistic about our outlook here. Thank you, everybody.
We've been listening to West Kelowna's Fire Chief, Jason Brolin, and Kelowna's Fire Chief, Travis Whiting, and from Lake Country Fire Chief, Darren Lee, giving us an update on the fire situation there. That was from earlier today. Now, they believe 90 or so structures have been destroyed, but at least 3,000 have been saved. No indications so far that anyone has been killed in the fires as well. No indication anyone is missing. Cooler, wetter weather is helping, but it will be a slow go to calculate the full damage. And the officials are saying again and asking for people's patience as they wait to go home.
We know some people's patience is wearing very thin, understandably, under circumstances like this. Some of them sharing deep frustrations with Premier David Eby and other government officials as they tour fire zones in the BC interior. They're worried not enough is being done to protect homes and properties, and some of them claim that supply shipments and other sorts of refueling are being stopped from getting to fire-affected areas. The Premier says crews are doing what they can to save lives and property. And coming up after the break, stay with us. We are going to hear from our reporter John Hernandez, who has also been hearing from some very frustrated British Columbians. A lot to go through right now. We still know tens of thousands of people out of their homes, waiting to go home. Again, the fire view is shifting, hopefully in a more positive direction with that rain, but we wait to see what happens next.
And an update here for the Lower Mainland. The Metro Vancouver has lifted the air quality advisory. That's because of changes in the weather.
Very good news for us here on the South Coast. We hope for better in the interior as well. Here's the CBC News.
This is CBC News from Vancouver. Good afternoon. I'm Renee Lucas. Many people are still out of their homes in Northwest Territories, but now there are concerns about supporting them as supplies run low. Volunteers in Alberta are hoping to help. The CBC's Aaron Collins has that story.
Arlene Wheeler loads a pickup truck with supplies for wildfire evacuees.
Nothing was set up initially for donations and volunteers, so we just kind of winged it ourselves.
Wheeler from Leduc says evacuees staying in her community need pretty much everything.
Food, diaper, hygiene items, laundry soap was a big one.
More than 25,000 people have been evacuated from the Northwest Territories, and it's not just people out of their homes. At this airstrip near Calgary, a plane full of pets is being unloaded. Becky Bain has volunteered to look after some of the animals rescued and flown south.
I can't even imagine what the families are going through. So if I can help, why not, right? It's what you do.
Officials say it could be weeks until evacuees can return home. Aaron Collins, CBC News, Calgary.
In British Columbia, the weather is cooperating with firefighting efforts in both the province's interior and the north. Cooler temperatures and rain are helping to keep the flames at bay in some areas, but those who have been forced from their homes are still anxiously waiting to hear if they'll have a home to go back to. Jason Brolin is the fire chief for West Kelowna.
I expect the number of partial and full losses to be less than 90. Less than 70 in the city of West Kelowna and less than 20 on WFN territory. I hope that provides the public with some of the scope and scale of what we're dealing with.
Some evacuation orders in the Kelowna and West Kelowna areas have been downgraded to alerts. Meanwhile, Premier David Eby and two of his ministers are touring wildfire-affected areas today. Some of the 30,000 people are still out of their homes across BC due to evacuation orders. The Saskatchewan government says schools must now seek parental consent when children under 16 want to change their names or pronouns. Education Minister Dustin Duncan says the province wants to standardize pronoun and naming policies across school divisions. New Brunswick introduced a similar policy earlier this year. It faced intense opposition from LGBTQ groups. And the province's Child Advocate Fund, the Child Province's Advocate found it violated children's charter rights. Saskatchewan also says parents must be given the option to withdraw their children from sex ed classes. That was the moment a teenager in Pakistan was pulled to safety after getting stuck in a cable car. 8 people, mostly kids, were left dangling above a ravine in a remote mountainous area after one of the cables snapped. A rescue operation involving military helicopters lasted into the night. In the end, officials announced all 8 people had been rescued. A summit for the economic bloc known as BRICS is underway in Johannesburg. Leaders of Brazil, India, China, and South Africa are meeting in person, while Russia's president takes part virtually. International criminal court charges are calling for Vladimir Putin's arrest. South Africa, as a member, would have been compelled to detain Putin. Briar Stewart has more.
The crowd inside the convention center in Johannesburg cheered when a video statement from Vladimir Putin was played on the screen. In it, he spoke about Russia's economic potential and how the West is obstructing it with sanctions. The rest of the leaders of the BRICS group are meeting in person. They're part of an alliance that started assembling 15 years ago because they all had developing economies and they wanted a bigger voice in the world's financial institutions. Now, BRICS has shifted to a geopolitical coalition, which is pushing for a more multipolar world that's less reliant on the US dollar. A large part of these meetings will focus on expanding the 5-member group. Officials say 40 countries have expressed interest, including Iran and Saudi Arabia, as well as nations from Africa and South America. Briar Stewart, CBC News, London.
And that's a CBC News from Vancouver, 88.1 FM and 690 AM in Vancouver. For news anytime, go to cbc.ca/BC or use the CBC News app. Now a look at the BC weather. Special air quality statements are in place for some areas. Along the south coast, sun and clouds with highs of 21. For the southern interior and Kootenays, chance of showers and a risk of a thunderstorm, highs between 19 and 25. For the central interior, widespread smoke with highs of 25. For the Peace, sun and clouds with risk of thunderstorms and highs of 23. And on the north coast, hazy with highs of 17. Now over to BC Today with Dan Burritt and Belle Puri.
Thank you very much, Renee. I'm Dan Burritt, and with Belle Puri here on BC Today, an extended version. We welcome everybody who has been joining us across CBC Vancouver's YouTube page, but we're now on 88.1 FM, and we'll be on 690 AM across Metro Vancouver with you until 3 o'clock. Lots going on today. We've had the various updates from wildfire officials across in the interior as well. We're also getting an update from our other top story around an explosion in downtown Prince George that has injured at least 3 people. We're expecting an update at 2:30 with wildfire officials. Now, though, we want to go back to another part of our top story, one of our top stories, I should say. Premier David Eby hearing from people impacted by wildfires today, and some of it was not kind to him and to other officials. His itinerary was including Kamloops, Salmon Arm, Kelowna, and Penticton. He was joined on that trip by Bowen Ma, the Minister of Emergency Management and Climate Readiness, Bruce Ralston, Minister of Forests, and Harjit Sajjan, Federal Minister of Emergency Preparedness. The CBC's John Hernandez is in Kamloops, and we've reached him on the line with more. Very hardworking. John, how are you?
I'm good, Dan. How are you?
Doing just fine. John, what is it like where you are?
Yeah, so we're actually in an evacuation camp right now. We've sort of been chatting with people here throughout the day. It's in a neighborhood called Rayleigh. That's about 15 kilometers from the Kamloops city center. And it's quite the compound here. We have sort of dozens of these portables. They have capacity here for about 300 evacuees. Right now, I'm told there's about 150 or so, but they are expecting more over the next number of days here. We're about 50 kilometers away from the active fires, but we do have some smoke. It's quite thick, not as bad as it was yesterday. It seems that some of the heavier winds we saw yesterday have sort of dissipated in this area, so it is kind of tolerable outside. There are quite a bit of people sort of lounging about here, chatting, some wearing masks. Obviously, it's been a tough week for many of the people here, but they're managing and supporting each other.
John, it's Belle. The Premier was in Kamloops earlier today. What did you see or hear from him?
Yeah, so he actually came to this site where we are, and as you mentioned, he was with Ministers Ma and Ralston, along with Harjit Sajjan. He was here, the group of them were here for about an hour or so. They toured the site and had a long conversation with Little Shuswap Lake Chief James Toma. The First Nation was among those that were hit pretty hard by the fire just during the week on Friday. And Toma and his brothers were those who were actually battling these flames on the front lines. So he told the premier this pretty harrowing story of them trying to save their houses as the evacuation orders came down, and then they sort of had to flee and had to rush, and they actually sought shelter underneath a bridge, and they sort of sat there for a bit, not knowing if this was their time, if they were going to die or not, quite frankly, until some members from the local fisheries department on the water actually came and rescued them. So this story was sort of told to EB in front of a big group of reporters and other members of the First Nations, and he was obviously, you could see himself, the premier, getting a bit emotional sort of as he heard this tale and sort of offering some words of condolences, but also telling Chief Toma that he was happy that he did make it out of there and was able to share this story with him. So the premier did hear quite a few stories like this through the day here.
John, just to clarify, were you with the premier, and did you see when he was confronted with some very frustrated people?
Yeah, so that happened just sort of again in this center. They sort of started going on a bit of a walking tour shortly after he was told that story by Chief Toma, and there was a couple here that's also staying in the evacuation camp. Alana Stern was the woman's name who spoke directly to EB, and she essentially said or spoke almost on behalf of a lot of the folks that are on the other side of the fire line that have defied evacuation orders and are essentially kind of taking matters into their own hands in hopes of fighting themselves. She told EB that the community, she's from the Lee Creek area, she told EB that the residents there had felt abandoned and they had felt unfairly targeted by RCMP, who were trying to get them to leave and not letting supplies and other essentials, things like gasoline, come through. So there was quite a bit of frustration on her part. EB responded to her by saying sort of it was a stressful time for many people in the area, but he sort of doubled down on what he's been saying through the week. People should be listening to these evacuation orders. They're meant to keep people safe, and they're also meant to keep people out of the way of those frontline wildfire crews. But yes, there is sort of this palpable tension between some of the folks that are also, that are definitely going through a very traumatic and tumultuous time in their lives, and having this opportunity to see EB in person and vent and express their frustration. So a very, like I said, a very palpable tension you can kind of feel as the premier was coming through here.
And it's not just, one or two people. What's your sense of it, that this is across the board? People are generally in that area feeling that they didn't get the attention and services that they expected?
Yeah. In some particular areas, for sure. We hear about Scotch Creek, and again, that sort of Lee Creek. A lot of these sort of areas in the shoe swap, it is pretty significant, the number of folks that we've had reach out to us, through our CBC channels, but we also see a lot shared on some groups on social media, and then even speaking with folks in this evacuee camp, there is that sense that they feel that they've been left behind, and we've heard stories, and obviously, I haven't been behind that fire line, but just anecdotally hearing from folks that they say they've seen wildfire crews stationed in areas, and they've gone up to them and they've asked them for help, and they've said this is what they're telling me. They said to these firefighters they've relayed locations of certain spot fires and trying to get them to come help, and these fire crews are, according to the folks that are behind the fire line, the fire crews are telling them that they have their own orders and they got to, target hotspots in their own areas and monitor from their own perspective. So there just seems to be a bit of a lack of coordination between some of the locals and some of the ground crews that we're hearing. But again, we're hearing this specifically through residents that have either defied these orders or are now in evacuation centers and kind of relaying this information to us. So, it's a very challenging time for a lot of these folks. So these frustrations are quite prevalent, and, we're going to try to dig into this deeper sort of in the hours and days ahead here.
John, what have you heard from others who have evacuated, and perhaps are not feeling that frustration, even though that they're out of their homes. They understand that police and other officials are urging them and telling them they have to get out.
And so I kind of go back to this one gentleman I was speaking to a bit earlier today. His name's Barney Toma, actually the brother of James Toma, the chief of the Little Shuswap Lake First Nation. And Barney, he told me that he was actually a firefighter for about 40 years, a wildfire fighter. And he sort of had this unique perspective where he says, I've been on both sides of it, and I know it's not easy. There's places that are inaccessible. Sometimes you run into resourcing challenges, and we've heard a lot of issues this week about potential tampering of wildfire equipment from the BC Wildfire Service. So this person, Barney, was very, very sympathetic to the wildfire crews, and he was among those that when he got the word that he had to leave, he went up and left. And even Little Shuswap Lake Chief James Toma, when Edie was being confronted by the folks that were frustrated, he did step in and he said, the RCMP are there for a reason, and there are concerns of looting in those communities, and a very real concern for a lot of people. So they're in support of what people are doing on the ground, So it is a very nuanced situation, and everybody, has their varying views, and they're all really just, I think tensions are just a little heightened just given the circumstances that we're seeing, and we're just kind of seeing that play out a very emotional time for many. So it's very mixed in terms of how people are perceiving what's happening on the ground. We're getting a wide array of perspectives here.
John Hernandez, we appreciate your time. We know you and the teams are really busy. Just remind us, what will you be reporting on tonight on CBC television and video and elsewhere, and what can we expect?
Yeah, we've been stationed at this evacuee camp all day. We weren't exactly sure how the how the premier's visit was going to go, but it did turn out to be quite eventful. So we're primarily going to be focusing on that in our coverage tonight.
All right. And you can see that on CBC television at 6 o'clock on CBC Vancouver's YouTube page, as well as CBC Gem. John Hernandez, we really appreciate your time. We'll let you get back to it. Stay safe, please.
Thank you.
You're listening to an extended edition of BC Today. I'm Belle Puri, joined by Dan Burritt, and we'll be with you for about another 45 minutes. We want to hear from you around the province. Call us, 1-800-825-5950. If you're in the Lower Mainland, 604-669-3733. On your cell phone, it's star or pound 690, and our email is bctoday@cbc.ca. Darius Mundavi is here with us to bring us up to date on what we know about how the weather is unfolding. Are we going to get some substantial rain?
It looks like the odds of rain in Kelowna have been rising. So now, heading into tonight, we've got a 70 to 80% chance of rain pretty much every hour in Kelowna. And if you take a look on the radar, you can see that band just grazing right now. So any time now, I don't think we've seen any rain logged so far, but for anybody in the area, if you want to let us know whether you're seeing rain, that would be fantastic.
We love getting the drop reports.
Yes.
Sorry, we love getting the drop reports.
That would be fantastic because there's nothing better than having somebody right there on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
I know that also the Shuswap is also going to be seeing a bit of rain over the next 24 hours. We can see, oh yeah, Dan wants to have a look. You can see here we're looking at around, if it would load, 5 to 20 millimeters now, it looks like. So anywhere in that range would be fantastic. Kelowna looking like a little bit less, somewhere between 1 and 10 millimeters, but good news there.
How much of this is still due to Hurricane Hillary, or is this a new system, just to clarify?
So what's happening is most of the moisture that could be falling is from Hurricane Hillary as it sort of passes up in several bands of moisture through the province, but it's being drawn westward because we fortunately have a low pressure system over the coast right now that's sort of pulling that moisture further west. And now as that low pressure system moves across the south of the province over the next 36 hours or so, that band of moisture will start to move with it into the prairies, which is why we only have until tomorrow that we're really hoping to see that rainfall come down.
And just in the last hour or so, Metro Vancouver, the regional district, has lifted the air quality advisory. So for the Lower Mainland, what does it look like for smoke elsewhere in major cities?
I know that a lot of places where we have these fires right nearby, they're not looking at really much of a reprieve over the next few days. Heading into the end of this week, as we have that high pressure system build, we talked about it earlier on the show, but temperatures come up, winds will be very settled, humidity will drop, so a mixed bag there. But a lot of the smoke will be more trapped in place than it is. So places like Kelowna will be seeing even smokier skies because that smoke stays really close to the ground. But places that are a little bit further away from the fires that are burning nearby will see less of that smoke traveling to them because it'll stay closer to being in place. So it really depends where you are.
Right, and it does keep moving around. Like it's gone from here for now.
Yes. It looks, I don't see it returning here anytime soon. The reason we had the smoke in Vancouver was because we had a wind blowing from the east, which is quite unusual. Usually we'd see the winds blowing from the west, keeping that smoke away from Vancouver.
What happens in the next couple of days? We've had the air quality statement lifted for Metro Vancouver. You'd mentioned earlier that we're looking at another ridge of high pressure coming in. What is that going to do for the fire situation?
It really depends just how this plays out. Now, humidity dropping and temperatures rising is not ideal, but given how dry the fuels already are, I wouldn't expect it to make too much of a difference. If we get some rain in some of these places, it would be a temporary reprieve anyway, even with the temperatures rising. Let those fuels dry out faster than if the temperatures stayed where they are now, but not too much of a difference because it won't be enough rain to make too much of a difference, really just a very temporary reprieve. But having that ridge means low winds, the smoke being more predictable. It could allow for greater visibility for people on the ground to get in and fight these fires.
Sure. Dan was saying we want to count the drops, but let's hope that we're getting more than just a few drops that we can count.
Buckets would be nice.
Let's count the buckets, not the drops. Darius, thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's our CBC News climate and science specialist, Darius Madavi.
I think it's time to go to a call now. James is joining us from Powell River. James, how are you doing amid the smoke and the wildfire threats?
Well, the smoke is not too bad in Powell River, although the Sunshine Coast is without power at this moment.
Oh, is that right?
But the reason I'm calling is just with a suggestion.
Yeah.
There are, of course, healthy and valuable individuals within different communities that are really dying to help. They really want to assist, and they're in fact out under their own direction doing that. And I'm wondering if it's not possible for experienced firefighter crews, some of them, to be broken up as leaders of these groups that could be deputized and follow the direction of an experienced firefighter from the BC Fire Service. So you get 2 or 3 experienced guys leading a crew of locals, and they're deputized. Maybe they receive WCB registration through their deputization, and there would be more legs on the ground. It's totally understandable that there is limited resources available.
Do you have any previous experience fighting fires?
I do not. I do have emergency services experience in the city there.
Yeah. And you're the latest person to ask us around whether or not there should be a new, perhaps, training system or recalling people with previous experience fighting fires. Interestingly enough, though, we've also received emails from people who've said, listen, please, for heaven's sakes, leave this to the professionals. They don't want, and these are their words, quote, a bunch of amateurs going out there and giving this a try. If there was a formalized training system What would you think about that?
Well, I think that's needed. But in emergency situations, definitely they should not be out there on their own. But the fire service could have a brigade of leaders for civilian groups that become deputized and some kind of Saturday morning training in these communities under their guise so that the communities are better ready.
James, we appreciate your call, and I was just looking at the BC Hydro website. It says there's a transmission circuit failure in Powell River. So crews are working to get it restored. They hope to have it updated or to have it estimated time on about 2:30. So hopefully in about 10 minutes, and we can give you an update or let us know if that is the case. We have a couple of more calls on the line. Let's go to Brad, who's joining us from. Oh, there we are. Brad is joining us from Kelowna. Brad, how are you holding up?
Well, we're doing. Can you hear me?
Sure can.
Yeah, we're doing okay. My wife and I were evacuated from our home in 2003, and the homes in our neighborhood burned down. We were fortunate that ours didn't, and we're now living in an area, and we live right on an interface. We back onto the Mission Creek Regional Park, so things have been kind of anxiety-producing. My main reason in calling is I wanted to give a real shout-out to the fire service people. Things were kind of touch and go on Friday night, and so my wife and I went and spent the night in Penticton to support family friends who had been evacuated from the west side. They lived between Traders Cove and Lake Okanagan Resort and on Okanagan Lake, and they went down to Penticton for a couple of nights, so we went down to support them. And we were staying at a motel, and about 10 o'clock, 4 trucks pulled into the parking lot with fire crew. And they pulled out of their trucks with armfuls of pizzas and things. And I went over just to thank them and pulled some cash out of my wallet just to say, hey, listen, do you guys need something to wash the pizza down with? Either pop, there was a beer store across the street and things. And I asked one young fellow if he had a supervisor or a crew chief, and he pointed out his supervisor. And the supervisor said, thank you so much, but we can't accept anything. And I said, well, look, nobody's going to know. Here's some cash. there's the beer store. You guys, they were, their shirts were covered in soot. Their coveralls were covered in soot. Their boots were dusty. Their faces were black. Their hats were dirty and brown. And they just, they looked like they'd just come out of, well, whatever. And they said, well, thank you. We appreciate it. And then the supervisor said, listen, I'll take a handshake.
Wow. It's just amazing the effort that goes into saving other people's lives and their homes. And your story, Brad, is really touching.
What did that feel like, Brad? Go ahead.
So just to finish, gave him a handshake and thanked him. And then the young fellow that I spoke to initially, just one of the crew members, said, hey, I'll take one too. So gave him a handshake, and we bid our farewells. I think, and then I asked him. I said, "Where you guys have just come from?" Because I didn't know if they'd come from the fire near Karamias. And he said, "We've just come down from Kelowna." And the night before, my wife and I sat up on a ridge above Kelowna and looked across the lake and watched all the devastation over there. And so they went into their rooms. 6 o'clock the next morning, we heard them up, chatting quietly, and then by 7 o'clock, the trucks were gone, and they're back at it. So that's the kind of effort that people are giving. Anyway.
Brad, we before you go, and we so appreciate your call. And I think there are a lot of people who are probably feeling quite on the knife edge. Emotions are pretty raw right now, and we certainly appreciate you sharing and being so vulnerable with us. If we can ask, how does this season compare to 20 years ago?
Well, it's the summer has been so phenomenal up until last week. It's been hot, it's been dry, it's been a typical Okanagan summer. I was born in Penticton. I grew up in Penticton and Kelowna. I went to high school here and would come back in the summer times through university and things. And we never had forest fires. There was never any evacuations. It was nothing like that back then. It was a long time ago now. Up until this last week, it's been sort of a banner hot summer. Your typical Okanagan summer where the tourists are here, the people are vacationing, they're enjoying the lake, they're enjoying the town, the community, the social activities and things. And it has completely changed in this last 5 or 6 days. I'm right now, I'm overlooking the Harvest Golf Club, looking down at town. And today's the first day we've been able to see downtown. I can see across the lake I can see the bridge, Mount Bushery. I can see the west side and the ridge above West Bank and West Kelowna where the fire came down, but you can just barely see the top of the ridge. You can't really see any detail on the other side. But I look up, you can see some clouds, a little bit of pale blue sky. So it's probably one of the best days we've had in the last 6. But it's hard on everybody, particularly the people, and we feel just our hearts break for those people that have lost their homes, that have been evacuated, that don't know the status of their homes. We were there 20 years ago. We know what it's like. We know how hard it is and what relief it is when you not only find out whether your home is okay, but even if you find out your home is lost, at least you have that information and can then move on or start to make some early plans about your future. But it's just, it's really, really hard to see these sorts of things happen in so many places, particularly right now in this beautiful part of the country and the world that we live in. So,
Brad, thank you so much for sharing what you're going through and painting this picture of what it looks like around you today.
Well, again, we just want to say thanks to all of those first responders, the structural firefighters, the forest firefighters, the EHS people, the ambulance people that have been pulled in. We had occasion to talk to a EHS lady from Karamias who was transporting patients from KGH into hospice earlier this week. She was away from home. She was hoping she could be helping in her own community, but she was dispatched up here. And she finished her shift and she would drive back to Karamias that night. The kind of effort that these people are putting in, it's above and beyond. And we're just very fortunate that they're there to help us. And I can't say enough about them.
Brad, we really appreciate you taking the time to call us and share that story. It's brilliant. Thank you very much. You are listening to an extended version of BC Today here on CBC Radio 1 and our CBC Vancouver YouTube page. I am Dan Burritt with Belle Puri. It's time for a news break with Renee Lucas.
Good afternoon. Here are the headlines from the CBC Vancouver newsroom. I'm Renee Lucas. Premier David Eby was met by some angry residents as he toured the fire zones today. Some Shuswap locals are upset that they have been prevented from delivering supplies to those disobeying evacuation orders. One woman told Eby those people are doing all they can to protect their neighborhoods. The Premier says keeping people safe is the top priority. A massive explosion in downtown Prince George has closed a number of streets in the area. At least 3 people have been sent to hospital. Officials say it's too early to know the cause of the blast. The latest estimates from fire chiefs in central Okanagan suggest that fewer than 200 structures have been destroyed, less than 90 in West Kelowna and West Bank First Nation, and less than 100 in the Northwest Side area. West Kelowna Fire Chief Jason Brolin warns area residents to prepare to see a dramatic difference in the mountains surrounding their community once the smoke lifts. The Canada Border Services Agency says charges have been laid against an American man who was bringing guns into the country. It says the man was stopped on May 6th by CBSA officers at the Abbotsford border crossing on his way to Alaska. The agency says border officers discovered 3 prohibited firearms, a silencer, and 2 overcapacity magazines in his vehicle. Turning to the weather, mainly sunny in Vancouver today. High of 21, increasing clouds this evening with a 30% chance of showers overnight. Low of 14.
Thank you so much for that, Brene. Welcome back to BC Today. I'm Belle Puri with Dan Burritt. Well, as we know, wildfires are burning across the province. Thousands of people have been evacuated from various communities, and many more are on alert to evacuate. The stress of living with this kind of threat to one's home surely has an emotional and psychological impact. Joining us today from Kelowna is UBC Okanagan sociologist Marianne Murphy, who has been studying the psychological effects of wildfire evacuation. Hello to you.
Good afternoon.
I understand that you've been under an evacuation alert. How are you doing right now?
Well, it's interesting. The night before the fire started, I was playing tennis in night tennis and got off the court at 10:30 and noticed that it was 100 degrees Fahrenheit with a very brisk wind. And I said to the person beside me, if we don't have a major fire this week, I think I'm going to be surprised. And sure enough, it started the next day. And what was really remarkable for me was that it was almost exactly to the day of the 20th anniversary of the 2003 Mountain Park fire. So today the skies are still gloomy, visibility is a bit better. There's a brisk wind, which makes me a little anxious, and no sign of that rain that you're forecasting, so fingers crossed.
Marianne, tell us about what you've been seeing and hearing from people you know, people you love, and around where you are on how they're doing.
Well, it reminds me of an old quote by Churchill that it is our communities and our provinces really both darkest and finest hour. When I saw the devastating fire with the hills literally on flames all around me on Friday night, I felt so sick for the families that I presumed were going to lose their homes. And I still do. The actual numbers are lower than you would have thought, given what we saw on Friday night. But I'm really concerned, not just for the families who we know have lost homes, but I live near a ridge where at any moment of the day, you can go up and talk with people with binoculars who are checking 3-4 times a day, so anxious to check if their homes are still intact. And it's just this palpable anxiety, feeling that you're on pins and needles. These brisk winds make us all nervous. The sky's full of ash here. It's all over the place. So feeling hopeful today, but also most people very anxious. And, you know, the sun hasn't been out in about a week. So there's that very gloomy sky. And I understand, I think, why people are getting pretty short-tempered.
We've certainly been hearing a lot of that. And as you mentioned, 20 years since the Okanagan Mountain wildfire, you spoke to many of the residents who had to evacuate their homes at that time. What did you learn from that research?
We interviewed 25 of the families who lost their homes about a year later. And certainly one of the messages I would have for anyone who has already lost their home is that you are going to be okay. You are going to have a very, very difficult year. You can anticipate grief, sleepless nights, possibly some health problems, lots of anxiety. You're going to experience incredible turmoil. Every major element of your life is going to be disrupted, but you are going to come through okay. The big message from all these families that we interviewed was, what you are going to experience is normal. These families went through a year of endless insurance lists. And yes, in the end, the insurance companies were very good to them. But I can't describe to you the stress that people experienced trying to recall what was in a room, what was in a drawer. So one of the pieces of advice they had is that if you're at home and you're concerned, take a full video of your house, open every drawer, because that will save you a lot of memory seeking later that you're just too stressed out to be able to do that. We also met families who blamed themselves and really grieved after things that they forgot to take. And the reason for that is that with the alarm of an evacuation, you experience what's called an acute stress. You can't think straight. So you may end up running around the house, picking up things you haven't used in 10 years and stuffing them in the back of your van and forgetting some of the major things that are actually really important to you as a family, really important as a representation of your home, your community, your heritage, your culture.
We'd want to go to a call now, and Sharon is joining us from Lake Country. Sharon, how are you holding up? And if you don't mind turning down your radio, Sharon, that'd be lovely.
Yeah, I will. Just hang on.
Not a problem.
CBC is my main source of information. And
So you're the one.
Fabulous
Thanks
job.
so much. So how are you holding up, Sharon?
Well, I'm fine. I mean, I really have the best. I mean, I sympathize with people with families and small children. I have no one to worry about but me. I've got my sons are off independent, doing their own thing. My one's a volunteer fireman in another area. There's just me to look after. But I have had some experience with fires in another area, and it really taught me the lesson of being prepared. So as soon as I heard about the fires jumping at the lake, I thought, I'm going to get ready. And so I got up one night about 4 a.m, couldn't sleep, and I packed my car, had sort of a plan how I was going to pack it with all the most meaningful things for me. So by 9 o'clock that morning, I had it all packed, my stuff ready to go. And then we got the evacuation alert. So I was already done. But I learned that lesson from previous experience. Don't wait until you're in a panic.
Okay, Sharon, I'm curious. What did you put in your car?
All my memorabilia. I have endless picture albums. The things I put in that I could not replace. All my memorabilia from my 2 sons, all those things that I still had here at my place. Pictures. I have a big collection of music boxes because I'm trying to learn how to play the piano. And I just purchased a bunch, and I didn't want to replace those. Those are the kind that I knew just would be. But it was mainly memory stuff because I'd made a major move some years ago and had got rid of a lot of stuff. And since I've done that, I'm on such a frenzy getting rid of all kinds of stuff I don't need, don't want. It's just collecting dust. That's gone. Mm-hmm. It's all going to the thrift shops.
So that makes packing a lot easier.
Holy mackerel, does it ever.
Focuses the mind wonderfully.
And I loathe housework. And it really focused me. I accomplished more in 2 days than I've been dwindling along here for 6 months.
Sharon, can you describe the palpable, is the word relief correct? Knowing that you had that stuff in place ready to go just in case?
Oh, it was not panicky at all because I had already moved everything closer to the exits of where I live. And I could just I had strategized how I was going to pack my car, so that I could maximize everything. And I can't believe I had that much forethought. But I'm quite spontaneous and do a lot of things just sort of at the spur of the moment. Sure. But this really proved if you got a plan and you follow it and think ahead, it takes so much stress off. But I didn't have a lot of the challenges other families have, so my heart goes out to them.
Absolutely, yes. It's easier if you just have to worry about yourself. Well, we're glad that you're safe and things are okay for you. Thanks so much for your call, Sharon.
Oh, I have nothing but the highest of praise for the firefighting team, and that includes all the RCMP and everybody else. They've just done an amazing job. I feel totally secure here that I'll have all the information I need to know to keep myself safe.
That's great. Well, you take care.
Thank you.
We also have on the line UBC Okanagan sociologist Marianne Murphy. Marianne has been studying the psychological effects of wildfire evacuation. And just before we went to talk to Sharon, we were talking about, people packing up and packing the wrong things. I think, Marianne, you called it acute stress of evacuation. So how can people go about making good decisions in that moment when they have to leave their home?
Well, luckily for Sharon, she was really on top of it, but unfortunately I've met too many people that couldn't be. And to be fair to them, as an example, I spoke to a young single mom this week with a little girl. She had half an hour to get out. She didn't even get her clothing. So the best advice from families is make a list and do it in advance. Don't forget obvious things like your passport, your ID. You may take a piece of mail, write down your insurance policy number and any photos that are not on the cloud. Think about collections. Sharon said she had a collection of music boxes, but perhaps you have a collection of dishes, art, wood, or books. The family said, don't forget the Christmas ornaments. There are so many good memories embedded in those. Keepsakes, family heirlooms, and I don't mean the most expensive thing in your home. People generally pined after the oldest, least expensive thing in their home, like dishes and mugs. I remember one mom said, I came home every day for 40 years and made the same cup of coffee out of the same mum cup. People pined after forgetting children's stuffed animals and trophies, feeling really that they'd let them down as parents. So they said, ask yourself, what do you most cherish about your home and your history? And make that list, because for everyone, it will be something a little bit different. There are very helpful lists available publicly through, I believe, FireSmart BC. But the ones I'm describing for you are the ones that the families said were really important. And the other thing they mentioned, which I thought was really interesting, was go to your laundry basket and take out whatever's in it, because that will be the clothing that you like to wear and that you're going to really miss if it's gone. Don't forget your favorite pillow if you have time to take it as well.
Marianne, you mentioned the messages that you had for those who had gone through, who you interviewed, who had endured what happened in the devastation of 2003, and that they will get through it. There are long-term lasting effects we know of when it comes to trauma, PTSD, that kind of thing. Do you have any sense or a gauge of how many people either went into therapy long-term or were using medication that was prescribed to them, that kind of thing?
That's a great question. The big lesson for me was the people hid their grief and their post-traumatic stress. They buried it because they said to themselves, we're alive. Our kids are alive. Maybe we got our pets out. So how could we complain? We're not the third world. They, for one thing, certainly began to really appreciate the work of groups like the Red Cross. So they said to themselves, we're okay. So why is this happening to us? So what they did is, groups like the Red Cross had psychologists calling them, and they told the psychologists that they were fine so that they could go on and help someone who needed it more. In fact, they needed it and they deserved it. So one big message out of all of this for families who are listening, who may have lost everything, you are going to be okay, but remember what you're experiencing is normal, and it's perfectly okay for you to reach out to everyone around you right now and tell them how you're feeling. All over Kelowna, wherever I go, West Kelowna, there are groups of people congregating who keep saying something to me to the effect of, it just helps so much to talk. So we have a reporter coming this afternoon from Paris. She's been sent here from a French newspaper. And I'm simply going to take her up to one of these hillsides and let her talk to people, because certainly you see the community coming together. The group that can best support all of us is each other.
Marianne, we really appreciate your time and your perspective, and especially because it spans that 20-year gap between disasters. So thank you very much for joining us.
You're welcome.
That was UBC Okanagan sociologist Mary Ann Murphy.
good tips.
Yeah,
Lots of good tips.
very
But
good tips.
I'm still thinking about her saying, wander through your house and take a video, open your drawers so that you can remember what was
Yeah.
in them. And I mean, that happens even now. Like, you just forget about what you have stashed away. And just because you don't see it every day doesn't mean that it's not something that you would want to take with you.
Simplest is best, right? Those small, the keepsakes. I'm already doing a mental, check in my house of what are these?
Okay, I'm
what I'm going to
thinking
take. Yeah,
too many drawers. Too much stuff into
too
them.
much stuff. That's right. Well, we certainly got some calls. This is a good time to do a house purge, as my mother might say. Right, go through things with a good dose of salts. Just before we get to our next guest, I want to share a couple of emails we received, and you've sent us many, and we appreciate it. Bruce sends us an email to say you must reiterate that when evacuation of areas is ordered, firefighting at that point is futile. The only option is to run for your life. As a fire burns, it depletes the oxygen in the air around it. The fire dampens down the heat, builds up in the fuels, and turns them into wood gas that can't burn because of a lack of oxygen. Then wind change will blow oxygen in, and the gas explodes. This is how the fire jumped 10 kilometers over Okanagan Lake. We may have somebody who can double-check that. Bruce, we appreciate your email. And another Bruce says, I don't appreciate CBC Radio amplifying the voices of those who've taken the law into their own hands by disobeying evacuation orders and, quote, appropriating firefighting equipment belonging to the BC Wildfire Service. As Premier David Eby and others have said, when the service goes to use its equipment and finds it's not there, that hinders firefighting efforts rather than helping. When people come across equipment that's not being used at that particular moment, that does not mean that equipment is not needed or is not going to be used. Ignorance of what the equipment is for is no excuse for taking it for yourself. Bruce, we also appreciate that email. Certainly, I don't think that, at least when we talked to Forest Tower, they were not encouraging people. And when we talk with people, we're sharing their perspective. And we know that there is some frustration out there. We heard it directed to the Premier and to others. It's quite something. Just on that update, we do have an update from the Premier who says he's he's going to be going to a news conference in West Kelowna, and hopefully we can get an update for you there. And I think we have our next guest on the line, Belle. Is that right?
Absolutely. You know, when it comes to province-wide emergencies in British Columbia, like the wildfires that are raging through different regions, it is often all hands on deck, and many British Columbians with relevant firefighting skills want to help even after they have retired. And that's the case for our next guest, and he's not alone. Paul Leeson is a retired BC forest officer who fought wildfires and is a retired helicopter pilot. We've reached him on Quadra Island. Hello, Paul.
Yes, good afternoon. Good to hear you both.
Well, nice to talk to you. Thank you for taking time to chat with us. What's it like following the news about the wildfires in British Columbia?
Well, it makes it tough to sleep because having been on the front lines, I know just how hard and how dedicated the existing firefighting crews have been working, and how dedicated they've been to save lives and save property, and makes it hard to ignore the plight that so many communities are in.
What experience do you have? You know, I mentioned that you have been a firefighter, that you're retired, but, you know, from your experience, stories that you'd like to offer to firefighting efforts?
Well, my experience is from the ranger station days when many communities had a local Forest Service office, often in a ranger station just at the edge of town, with suppression crew camps and warehouses and helicopter pads and so on. And in the summertime, all the ranger staff were pretty much seconded to the firefighting effort. As the hazard climbed, more and more people left their normal duties and joined the fire roster as managers, administrators, coordinators, and just keeping the resources flowing and managing the fires that were either starting or well underway.
Paul, have you tried to reach out to officials to offer your services? And if so, what have you heard back?
Probably over a month ago, I attempted to see if there was a place where experienced professionals that had retired could register, but there doesn't appear to be that system. I even got some help from my MLA, and the only thing she was able to come up with was that I was welcome to take a 3-day S100 introductory firefighting course should I be able to find one, and then I could register as a firefighter. But of course, those courses, any of us that worked in the Forest Service in the past, I mean, we used to teach them, and we did all the S courses right up to the highest level as career advancement. So it was apparent to me, and I think to her, that there really was no system to reach out for people with up to 35 years experience and get them to provide relief. Some of these poor managers have been on the front lines since April, and I just feel for them. I know how exhausted I used to be.
Paul, we're going to just put out a call to those who are with us this afternoon on BC Today. They might have some questions about fighting wildfires in BC. If you can answer them, that will be great. So if you're with us right now, call us at 1-800-825-5950, 1-800-825-5950, locally at 604-669-3733, star or pound 690 on your cell phone, and you can email bctoday@cbc.ca. You have taken, Paul, you've taken some firefighting courses, or taught them rather. What has the response been when you were teaching some of these courses?
Well, I think, people have to appreciate that it is a professional force out there, but just because people retire doesn't mean they've lost that experience and training. And we might need refreshers, but there is a lot of or there used to be a lot of young, enthusiastic people, particularly university students, that were very passionate and very attentive, and took these courses, and certainly in the summertime made themselves available. But of course, when you're in the middle of a firestorm, like seems to be the case this summer and some of the more recent summers, all that work has to be done in the wintertime.
Paul, how many other retired firefighters, people with the experience or just moving on to other careers, perhaps not retiring, that are also keen to help?
Well, I certainly talked to a handful of people when I was on a road trip in May, some of my former colleagues. And all I can say is I think that those of us that are still healthy are watching with great interest. And we live here, and we feel the pain and the exhaustion. And I think many of us would stand up and lend a hand, but there needs to be a system to let us do that. And, I can say that many people retire from government at the age of 55, and there's lots of life left in us.
Well, and particularly with the expertise that comes with it, and we know that whenever somebody with specialized skills retires, you're hoping that somebody else can fill in that has that amount of training. If they're not on the front lines, Paul, what would you envision seeing yourself specifically doing in BC's wildfire fighting effort, for example, this season?
Well, behind the scenes, behind the front lines, there is a large group of people coordinating the helicopters, coordinating the heavy equipment, coordinating the accommodations and transportation. There are literally dozens of jobs behind the scenes. And when we were in the ranger districts, all of us took a shift at many different times during the summer as the duty officer. And the duty officer was literally the coordinator. For instance, in my case, I went on from the Forest Service to fly helicopters and to fight fires from the air. And there are air attack officers. There are air coordinators where all the helicopters are pouring into places like Kelowna and being dispatched. And where do they go and what should they be doing and where are the priorities? Well, there are people like me with all kinds of relevant experience on both the fire side and on the aviation side. And I just feel like we're letting that all that experience slide in favor of bringing somebody from South Africa or from Australia. And we know the BC country, we know the valleys and the mountains and the rivers. There's lots of local knowledge we're missing out on.
Paul Leeson, we appreciate your time and your expertise and giving us the perspective of somebody who's done the frontline work and wants to help again. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much for your time, Dan, and for the relevance of this program at this time.
Paul Leeson, a retired BC forest officer who fought wildfires, retired helicopter pilot. We reached him on Quadra Island, and Belle, just the latest of, I think, probably more people than we expect were really willing to step up and help if they're given the opportunity, right?
Absolutely, and as Paul was saying, there's so much expertise that can be shared. It doesn't mean that you're on the front lines, but you can help out and add some extra hands to all of the effort that is needed. But I think, as we wind down for the afternoon, all eyes are on that prediction of rain that Darius was telling us about.
Yes, indeed. And you can see those forecasts tonight at 6 o'clock on CBC Vancouver Television, on YouTube, and we'll have the very latest throughout the afternoon because On the Coast is coming up too.
And that's it for our show today. Our thanks to everyone who called in and joined the discussion. You can always email us at bctoday@cbc.ca. You can listen to the show again on the CBC Listen app and watch us on demand on the CBC Vancouver YouTube page. I'm Belle Puri along with Dan Burritt. Thanks for listening and watching. Stay safe. We'll talk to you tomorrow.